Chapter 1200. Gage lifted the hammer with one hand. Ella Morgan looked at Gage. "Do you have the blood of a berserker?" Gage froze for a moment, but then he rolled his eyes. "You know berserkers too? I thought a woman like you wouldn't know the word." "Please, I played games in school too. Do you really think I'm a brainless idiot with big boobs?" This sword was a replica of a very famous weapon in the game, Frostmourne. Ella Morgan held the sword and waved it around. The sword weighed more than 10 kilograms, but it was definitely lighter than the hammer. Ella Morgan was also in a playful mood. She let out a yelling sound. Gatella ignored Ella Morgan, holding a hammer and pounding on the workbench. After playing for a while, Ella Morgan came to the workbench. She was about to reach for a piece of metal in front of her. Gage stopped her. "Use tweezers. This piece of metal just came out of the furnace. It's still very hot." Ella Morgan used the tweezers to pick up the piece of metal. "It's so heavy. Is this steel? Why do I feel like it's heavier than gold?" "Alloy," Ella Morgan said calmly. "Are you forging a weapon in the game too?" "No." Gage shook his head. "The items in the game won't be this heavy." "If this axe isn't a game item, what is it?" "Weapon. People buy this?" "Yes," Gage said calmly. Just then, the doorbell rang. "I'll go open the door," Ella Morgan said. It was mainly because the temperature in the workshop was a bit high. In just 10 minutes, she was already drenched in sweat. Ella Morgan opened the door and saw the bespectacled man standing at the door. "Why are you here?" The man with glasses raised his head and pushed up his glasses. A strange smile appeared on his face. "I don't want to see you." Ella Morgan frowned and closed the door. But in the next moment, the door was suddenly pierced. Ella Morgan was startled when the sharp blade was thrust into her chest. Then the blade moved up and the door and connected wall were cut open. "Ah!" Ella Morgan jumped in fright and screamed. When Gatcula heard the cry, he ran out with his hammer. Seeing the door that was cut open, Gatcula could not help but frown. She had never seen anyone who dared to cause trouble at her place. "Gage, hurry up and call the police. This madman has a knife." Gatcula looked at the bespectacled man outside the door. The man's aura made him feel even more uncomfortable. This man is weird. She had already sensed that there was something strange about him. Now the ominous aura around him was even stronger, and the katana in his hand, it gave Kira the feeling of evil. "Who are you? If you don't leave now, I won't be polite anymore." Kira scolded as she gripped her hammer tightly. At that moment, the bespectacled man gripped the katana's hilt with both hands, raised it above his head, and slashed at the half of the door. Hiss! Gage instinctively pushed Ella Morgan down and dodged at the same time. A saber chi slashed across the walkway, leaving a shocking saber mark on the floor and ceiling. The wooden structure of the house was almost split open by the bespectacled man. Ella Morgan's face paled in fear. What kind of monster was this? Gatcula's expression became even more solemn. This guy was scarier than he had imagined. A sudden burst of strength burst out of Gatcula's right arm as he raised his hammer and smashed it at the bespectacled man. The bespectacled man immediately blocked the katana in front of his chest. The hammer smashed onto the katana, but the force did not diminish, sending the bespectacled man flying more than 10 meters away. Gatcula rushed out of the house and stood in front of the bespectacled man. At the same time, she grabbed the air with her right hand, and the hammer that had been sent flying returned to her palm. Ella Morgan looked at Gatcula in shock. "Gatcula, you're Thor, right? The hammer in your hand is Thor's hammer, isn't it?" Gatcula glanced at Ella Morgan from the corner of her eye. "What are you doing out here? It's too dangerous out here. You'll protect me, right?" Gatcula's expression darkened. She had rushed out of the house to protect Ella Morgan. In the end, Ella Morgan ran out herself. Although the bespectacled man was sent flying, he stood in front of Gatcula without a scratch on him. "Ella, did you see that? Did you see my power? Are you still going to reject me now?" The bespectacled man's face seemed a little twisted. His expression that was close to being abnormal was really hard for women to accept. "I won't like you. Just give up, you pervert. Do you know what I've done for you? I killed that restaurant manager of yours for you. Do you know how much I've done for you?" His words did not change Ella Morgan's mind. It only made her more afraid and more resistant to the bespectacled man. "You pervert. If a woman wanted to like a man, the first thing she needed was a sense of security. Obviously, the bespectacled man did not give her any sense of security. In Ella Morgan's eyes, this man was a perverted murderer. What Ella Morgan said made the bespectacled man even more furious. The bespectacled man raised his sword and slashed at Ella Morgan from a distance of more than 10 meters. The aura of the blade cut through the air and attacked Ella Morgan with a tearing force. Gatcula slammed his hammer on the ground. The ground immediately formed a shockwave that spread in all directions. At the same time, it also dispersed the aura of the blade. The bespectacled man was also affected by the shockwave. He was sent flying and crashed into a tree behind him. Unfortunately, the devil's blade in his hand also flew out in the air and pierced through the bespectacled man's body. Gatcula heaved a sigh of relief. His luck was really good. Is he dead, Gatcula? I don't know, but he definitely can't fight anymore. Gatcula glanced at the bespectacled man whose body was pierced through. Just then, Gatcula noticed a black sports car parked not far from his house. Honestly, he did not believe that the car belonged to the bespectacled man. If the bespectacled man could drive that car, he would not be called a loser by Ella Morgan. Whose car is that? Gatcula asked. Is it this guy's? No, I remember this pervert's car is a very old one. Just then, the black sports car drove over. Ella Morgan realized that the two people in the car were the ones who came to her restaurant today. Miss, are you a berserker? West looked at Gatcula and asked curiously. Who are you? Gatcula's expression was still vigilant. We're the same kind of people as you. How about joining us? West asked. Not interested. This is my home. You better leave immediately. Chapter 1201. When Chun Zhao and West were at the entrance of the restaurant, they'd already realized that there was something wrong with this guy. So when the bespectacled man tailed Ella Morgan and Gatcula, they were also tailing the bespectacled man. They'd wanted to stop them, but Gatcula had already charged out. West had discovered something special about Gatcula. That was why they were watching from his side. Gatcula's strength was also at the bottom of the pack in the association. He could probably only be compared to Jalanash in the past. If it was the current Jalanash, she could probably make Gatcula kneel down in 1 minute. However, West felt that Gatcula's bloodline was full of potential. Maybe she'd become the next Gaia. Even if she couldn't become the next Gaia, becoming the next Jalanash wouldn't be bad either. Right now, the guy's face was completely different from a human's. The muscles on his face were completely twisted, making him look like a monster. A pair of spiral horns grew out of his head. He had a green face, fangs, and a bloody mouth. Of course, he was also called a ghost in Japan. His body also became bigger and bigger, and his clothes were almost torn apart. Gatcula looked at the guy who'd turned into a ghost. Right now, the guy's demonic aura was many times stronger than before. All of you must die. All of you, the guy said in a hoarse voice. Grabbing the hammer, Gatcula stared at the guy with a serious expression. Chun Zhao immediately started the car and hid far away. What a joke. His car was worth almost $2 million. If he got involved in their battle, he'd lose $2 million in one round. Seeing Chun Zhao and West escape, Gatcula sneered inwardly. He was indeed unreliable. During the battle earlier, he only dared to peep from a dark corner. Now that he saw this thing attack again, he escaped again. Just then, the green ghost charged over with a katana and slashed at Gatcula. Gatcula hurriedly raised his hammer to block. However, a corner of the hammer was cut off by the katana. Gatcula, on the other hand, was under great pressure and took a dozen steps back. Chun Zhao sat on the back of the car and watched the fight between Gatcula and the green ghost. West leaned against the back of the car. President, aren't we going to help? Don't worry, this girl won't die anytime soon. Also, didn't you see? After the Ghost King took the initiative, it didn't really use its full strength. It didn't kill on purpose. Gatcula barely blocked Green Ghoul's attack. But even Ella Morgan could see that Gatcula couldn't beat Green Ghoul. Ever since the bespectacled man transformed into a green ghost, both his strength and speed had greatly increased. Gatcula found it hard to even breathe after being struck by the green demon's attack. Is this all you've got? If that's all, then you should be more honest. That way, you can suffer less pain. Green Ghost easily slashed out a terrifying attack with one hand. Gatula spat out another mouthful of blood to block the blow. Hey, do you need our help? Chen Zhao called. Gatella snorted coldly. Just mind your own business. If I die, you won't be able to escape death either. Gatula calmed his mind and focused on dealing with the green demon. Gatella's heart skipped a beat as she suddenly realized a problem. This bespectacled man was definitely an ordinary person. Otherwise, he wouldn't have become a loser in other people's eyes. The problem was definitely the katana in his hand. No one knew where he obtained this evil katana from, and how he obtained the power of the katana. However, he was clearly controlled by the katana too. If she could destroy the katana, perhaps it would end. Gatula's skin started turning red. Her eyes were as red as a bull's. Even her hair grew longer. Fuck, she can't be a Super Saiyan, right? That's the Berserker bloodline. She's more like the Hulk than a Super Saiyan, Wes said. Wes said, the angrier a Berserker is, the more powerful they are. Furthermore, they can control and accumulate their anger. Then, when they need to, they can release their anger. However, this method of releasing anger can increase their strength for a short period of time, but it can only last for a short time. After this state of rage ends, they will enter a period of weakness. An angry roar came from Gatula's mouth as the hammer in his hand swung out fiercely. Green Ghoul's katana also slashed at the hammer. Clang! In an instant, the katana in Green Ghoul's hand was shattered. At the same time, Green Ghoul also suffered a frontal attack from the hammer. His huge body flew out. Whoosh, whoosh, Gatula panted heavily. In that instant, she had accumulated all her strength into one attack. After this attack, a sense of weakness hit her. The feeling of weakness was too strong. Gatula could barely stand. She knelt on one knee. Gatula, are you okay? Ella Morgan hurried over and helped Gatula up. I'm fine. Gatula's legs were weak. Just then, Chen Zhao and Wes came over again. Girl, what do you think about our previous suggestion? Chen Zhao asked. I won't join you, Gatula said with determination. I see. Chen Zhao glanced at Green Ghoul in the distance. The battle isn't over yet. That demon sword needs to kill 9 men and 9 women to be unsealed, but you shattered it directly. Now, that ghost has come out earlier. Gatula looked in Green Ghoul's direction. Indeed, she saw Green Ghoul stand up from the ground. Just then, thick demonic aura was released from the broken pieces of the demon's sword. Behind the green ghost, there was already a terrifying ghost face. Hee, stupid human, it's all because of you that I'm free. Green Ghoul didn't have a weapon now, but his aura was 10 times stronger than before. Chen Zhao glanced at Green Ghoul and then said to Gatula, if you're willing to join us, we'll help you deal with this guy. Do you know what you're saying? Can you deal with this thing? To be honest, Gatula felt that Chen Zhao and Wes joining them was just 2 more victims. They couldn't defeat this thing at all. That kind of unprecedented evil was not something that humans could contend against. That's our problem. Do you agree? Chen Zhao asked. Gatula's eyes flashed. Are you really going to deal with that monster? As long as you join us, we'll help you. What organization are you exactly? Supernatural organization. That useless organization? Chapter 1202. What Gatula was thinking now was to let the 2 idiots deal with the green ghost while she pulled Ella Morgan and ran away. Just then, Chen Zhao's phone rang. It was Gaia. Chen, where are you now? I'm in Mary's sector. It's a bit remote. Not far from me. Norma just called me and said that Pamela's going to complete her transformation tonight. Oh, what are you doing in Mary's sector? There's a ghost from Japan. Chen Zhao took a photo and sent it to Gaia. It looks really strong. Even though it's just a photo, I can feel the evil aura from it. It was mainly because the green ghost was too ugly, which was why everyone only cared about appearances. Give me the location and leave the ghost to me, Gaia said. Then you better hurry. I'm not sure if I can leave it until you get here. I'll come as fast as I can. Gatula glanced at Chen Zhao. Do you have reinforcements? Yes. Gatula realized that Chen Zhao and West weren't worried at all. He guessed that the reinforcements would be very strong. But would they make it in time? The green ghost didn't attack immediately. It also had to recover to its strongest state. The demonic aura emitted from the broken demonic blade had already been completely released. The green ghost was absorbing all the demonic aura. The more it absorbed, the stronger it became. Finally, it absorbed all the demonic aura. At this moment, Azure Ghost finally revealed his most terrifying aura and terrifying pressure. Green Demon looked at the crowd and grinned, revealing his bloody mouth. I haven't eaten anyone in a long time. It cackled. Ella Morgan was so scared that she was trembling. It looked at Ella Morgan and licked its lips. Don't worry, I won't eat you. Ella Morgan was even more terrified. She could imagine how the monster would torture her. Suddenly, Ella Morgan and Gakira realized that there was a patch of red light in the night sky behind the green ghost. There seemed to be a ball of fire in the middle of the red light. Missile? The two girls were confused. Suddenly, the fireball lowered its altitude, and its flight trajectory seemed to be falling diagonally. Green Ghost also felt something approaching from behind, so he turned around to look. By then, the ball of fire had already landed on its body. Bang! This unexpected attack came too suddenly. The huge impact and scorching heat enveloped Green Ghost. Flame Blast also rushed towards Ella Morgan, but Gage pulled Ella Morgan behind him. Amidst the smoke and dust, two figures were fighting fiercely. Dragon? Ella Morgan's eyes widened as she stared at the figure that was gradually becoming clearer. Then, they saw Green Ghost being thrown in front of them. One of Green Ghost's arms was torn off, and purplish-green blood flowed from the wound. He looked very miserable. Gaia stood there in her fire dragon form. When she first transformed into a fire dragon, her body was more than 5 meters long. Now, she could reach 7 meters. She was also bigger than Abido's. Of course, she was different from Abido's. Abido's bloodline was purer than hers, so he grew faster. Those fiery red scales were filled with a dignified sense of oppression, causing Ella Morgan and Git Kira to be filled with awe. Git Kira looked at Chun Zhao and West. Were these their so-called reinforcements? No wonder they were so confident. With a fire dragon like this, was there any enemy they couldn't defeat? Just as Git Kira's thoughts were running wild, Gaia attacked Green Ghost again. Green Ghost was quite strong, but it was still much weaker than Gaia. Moreover, ever since she could transform into a fire dragon, Gaia's appetite had become somewhat twisted. For example, she tore off Green Ghost's arm and swallowed it directly. Whether it was in terms of power, speed, or mana, Gaia was far superior to Azure Ghost. In terms of attributes, she crushed Green Ghost too. Green Ghost didn't plan to continue fighting. He wanted to escape, but the sudden arrival of the fire dragon made him unable to fight back. But Gaia clearly didn't plan to let him escape so easily. She spat out a mouthful of dragon breath at Green Ghost's back, and he was blown to the ground. Gaia pounced and killed him with one bite. Half of Green Ghost's body was gone. Gaia bit again, and Green Ghost didn't even have any scraps left. After swallowing Green Ghost, Gaia finally recovered her human form. Ella Morgan and Git Kira stared at Gaia in shock. This big woman was transformed from the fire dragon? Are you full? Chen Zhao went up to greet Gaia. Not bad. It's rare to have an opponent like this. Gaia looked at Ella Morgan and Git Kira. Who are they? That girl has the Berserker bloodline. Chen Zhao pointed at Git Kira. You're Git Kira, right? We helped you get rid of your enemies. So either you join us, or we'll let Gaia eat you. Gaia rolled her eyes. Is this how you threaten people? Little girl, don't be scared. I don't eat people, nor will I force you. If you're not willing, then forget it. I'm willing, Git Kira said. Hello, Ms. Fire Dragon. I'm Git Kira. Git Kira looked at Gaia with admiration. What about me? Ella Morgan asked. I want to join you too. What abilities do you have? Seduce men. The group brought Git Kira back to the headquarters. Ella Morgan had no home to go back to, so she followed them for the time being. Git Kira had heard of the supernatural organization in the past, but she hadn't heard anything positive from her own kind. Weak and useless. That was what she'd heard. However, after coming to the organization, she realized that it was really rich. At least, the headquarters building before them was enough to prove how rich it was. The gatekeeper was a normal old man. It seemed that the supernatural organization wasn't strong after all. The only one who was powerful was probably Gaia. Kira had been calculating the organization's strength in her mind. Just then, a group of evil spirits walked toward them. Kira jumped, thinking that they were being attacked by evil spirits. However, when the evil spirits arrived before them, they didn't attack. President, Lady Pamela's aura is becoming chaotic tonight. According to the records of the transformation process, on the night she completes the transformation, she will attract a large number of evil spirits to attack. Even we are affected now. As time goes by, this effect will become stronger. Then, it won't just be us. I'm afraid that even evil spirits from outside will be attracted to Lady Pamela's aura. If you think you can't control it, then lock yourselves in the dungeon. Don't come out and cause trouble, Chun Zhao said calmly. If you don't have the self-control and still come out, I'll kill you first. The evil spirits didn't dare to be impudent before Chun Zhao. They knew that Chun Zhao would definitely do it. If anyone can maintain their self-control and do something tonight, you'll be in the second batch of transformation. West, you're in charge of recording the evil spirits participating in the battle tonight. Yes, President. Chapter 1203. Gage still didn't understand the situation. Ella Morgan didn't seem to either. Miss Gaia, do you have any plans tonight? Gage asked. No, Gage said. Go rest with your friends. To Gaia, Gage was still very weak. There was no need for her to get involved in this battle. Gage wasn't an idiot. Even Ella Morgan could tell that something was up. Gage saw that the people of the Lightning team were fully armed and prepared their guns. It seemed like a huge battle was about to happen. Oh, send Pamela to the front hall, Chun Zhao said. Let's watch her. Previously, Pamela had been in the evil spirit nest, guarded by an evil spirit. However, when the transformation was complete, Pamela would release her aura. At this moment, Pamela was like a piece of cheese covered in cream. Almost all the evil spirits in the city would be attracted to Pamela. Even the original evil spirit subordinates would be affected by Pamela. Therefore, it was very unsafe to let the evil spirits continue to protect Pamela. Of course, this was just a temptation. Any evil spirit with a bit of rationality could resist it. Chun Zhao didn't ask the evil spirit group of the association to join the battle. They could choose to imprison themselves and temporarily send them to the dungeon. Of course, they could also choose to join the battle and help the association defend against the evil spirits. However, if they lost control when the evil spirits attacked, Chun Zhao wouldn't be merciful to them. I can stay and help, Gage said. No, you won't be able to help. Then why can this old man do it? Gage pointed at Aduz and then at Lisa. If this girl can do it, why can't I? Aduz was fully armed at the moment. As the Chinese said, he was getting stronger with age. Aduz was now armed to the teeth. As the Chinese said, he was getting stronger with age. As for Reisa, she was still playing with her phone with her legs crossed. As for Lisa, she was still playing with her phone with her legs crossed. The relaxed people were relaxed, while the nervous people were nervous. For example, the people of the Lightning team were equipping and inspecting their weapons. Another group of people were playing cards in a circle or sleeping on the sofa in the front hall. Pamela was sent to the front hall. Gage looked at her in the glass container. Pamela's body emitted an aura that made people's hearts tremble. What is she? She is a member of the society. In words that you can understand, she is evolving. She's not human. She's dead, an evil spirit. Padalu and Jalag were adjusting the equipment. Padalu had been working on his laptop the entire time. Suddenly, Padalu stopped. President, dozens of evil spirits have entered the association's territory. In Jin Kira's opinion, a few dozen wraiths were already a terrifying number. However, the people from the association continued to do what they were supposed to do. No one said anything. At this moment, the lights in the front hall began to flicker. Bang! Before Klaus could open fire, Aduz fired first. An electric arc shot out. An evil spirit was shot by Aduz in front of everyone. Jin Kira's face was filled with astonishment. She wouldn't be surprised if anyone here could destroy that evil spirit. However, the person who had just made a move was actually the person who was least likely to make a move. Aduz, Your reaction is really fast, Klaus said. I go to the Tower of Trials every day. I didn't learn anything else, but I learned how to shoot, Aduz said. Aduz might be the most relaxed in the association, but there was also a restless soul in his heart. He went to the Tower of Trials every day. As a regular person, there was no doubt about what would happen. Even Klaus and the other members of the Lightning team would most likely die in the Tower of Trials, let alone Aduz. By now, the wind was howling outside the glass window. Countless evil spirits were wandering outside. Evil spirits cried and howled outside. Occasionally, some would charge into the front hall. When Chun Zhao saw the evil spirits shatter the glass window of the headquarters, he immediately stood up. "President, don't do it," Norma said. Everyone else had the same expression. If Chun Zhao attacked, they wouldn't be able to do anything. They all knew Chun Zhao's strongest ability, Evil Spirit Killer. They didn't want Chun Zhao to ruin such a rare battle, or dozens of evil spirits to the association. The few members of the Lightning team could deal with them together. Norma could deal with them alone. Gaia could deal with them alone. Jolene and Nash could deal with them alone too. A few dozen evil spirits were nothing to them. Moore had walked out of the front hall. He'd always been a person with no sense of presence in the association. In the past, he'd been the main fighting force in the association, but after Chun Zhao came, his growth couldn't keep up with everyone else. Even his little brother Moer had grown faster than him in the past. Of course, it wasn't that Morid didn't work hard. He worked harder than anyone else. His strength wasn't just related to magic power. Compared to others, his magic power indeed didn't grow fast enough. But he was the messenger of nature. As long as he had the seeds of some magic plants, his strength would increase by leaps and bounds. Morid casually tossed out a handful of unknown seeds. The seeds quickly stuck to the spirits of the surrounding evil spirits. Then, the seeds grew rapidly on the evil spirits' bodies, turning into watermelon-sized spores. Soon, the spores exploded. The surrounding evil spirits were instantly crushed. Moore had killed half of the evil spirits in one go. These were the seeds of magic spores. After receiving magic power, they could quickly attach to the surrounding creatures and grow. In an extremely short time, they completed a cycle of development and growth before exploding. Moore had also had the ability to catalyze plants. He could control the growth speed of the magic spores, and when they exploded. Of course, as the messenger of nature, seeds couldn't increase his strength. These seeds needed to be nurtured. Because Moore had spent a lot of time nurturing the seeds, his cultivation time was naturally reduced. This was also the reason why the growth of his magic power was not fast. But aside from Chun Zhao, no one else could destroy so many evil spirits in one strike. Moore's growth is surprising, Gaia said, looking at the fierce battle outside. He should be able to reach the second level of the Tower of Trials, right? He's in Patya's team, Wes said. They've always been in the Tower of Trials together, so he hasn't been able to reach the second level. With that, Wes looked back at Patya. Patya blushed and lowered her head. It seemed that they had feelings for each other. Chapter 1204. Jinkira was completely speechless. Because there were 20 to 30 people in the lobby, no one cared whether Moore had won or lost. No one cared how dangerous it was outside. What everyone cared about was whether Moore and Patya had gotten on the bus. Suddenly, a huge shadow loomed over the association. Everyone saw that it was a group of evil spirits. It was made up of hundreds of evil spirits. This evil spirit group was filled with an unsettling aura. This aura was different from Gaia's dragon aura, nor was it like the evil of the green ghouls. Instead, it was a feeling that would make one's emotions uneasy and restless. Jinkira subconsciously roused the berserker's anger, and his skin turned red. Gaia pulled Jinkira back. You just fought and haven't recovered yet. We don't need you. Jinkira looked at Gaia. Are you going to fight? If it was Gaia, Jinkira believed that she could defeat the twisted, filthy thing in the sky. Not yet, Gaia said, looking up at the sky. A green light appeared in the sky. Jinkira seemed to hear the sound of hooves. He looked up and saw a green flame spreading in the sky. It was a horse burning with green flames. Nightmare. That's right, it was Nightmare. The legendary Nightmare. Norma closed her eyes and spread her arms. She was controlling Nightmare. Or rather, she was Nightmare. Nightmare's four limbs stepped heavily on the evil spirit group. The evil spirit group was stomped to the ground, and Nightmare head-butted it again. But this time, the collision didn't cause any physical damage. Nightmare directly passed through the evil spirit group. When a shapeshifter emerged from another direction, its body was already shackled with countless chains. The other side of the chains was connected to the evil spirit group. Every evil spirit in the evil spirit group was chained up by a chain. Nightmare's lead. The evil spirit group was led by Nightmare. Dream enslavement. The evil spirits were like marionettes of the Nightmare, and they were enslaved and controlled by the Nightmare. They began to attack other evil spirits that weren't enslaved. Jinkira's face was full of shock. It turned out that apart from Gaia, the supernatural organization had such a powerful witch. However, the previous attacks were just a prelude. The number of evil spirits increased. Helis also took action. Her 12 brothers and sisters turned into evil spirits and were fighting for her. Her 12 brothers and sisters were not ordinary evil spirits. They all possessed magic and magic from when they were alive. The other members of the association also joined the battle one after another. Support players like West and Patya also joined the battle. Only Gaia and Chun Zhao watched the battle calmly. Pamela had attracted too many evil spirits. To these evil spirits, Pamela, who had yet to awaken, was nourishment. It was a temptation that came from the depths of one's soul. The evil spirits of the association also joined the battle. Although it was only a small portion, it was not only because of their strong willpower, but also because of their fear of Chun Zhao. Their fear of Chun Zhao made them overcome their instincts. To put it bluntly, it was impulsiveness and restraint. Although this kind of instinctive impulse was hard to resist, it wouldn't make him lose his mind completely. They knew Chun Zhao. They knew how terrifying he was. Compared to the instinctive temptation, their fear of Chun Zhao was also ingrained in their bones. Helis getting more and more proficient in death magic. Norma's using of her bloodline has improved a lot too. Help! Just then, Aduz ran toward Chun Zhao and Gaia. Although most of the time, he only went up to cause trouble. No one stopped him. If these old bones of his want to move, then let him move a little. If not, Chun Zhao wouldn't mind if he stayed in the association and retired. Aduz was smart. He knew that running toward Chun Zhao and Gaia was the safest. However, to Gaia's surprise, the evil spirit that was chasing Aduz suddenly let out a blood-curdling screech before dissipating with a wail. Gaia looked at Chun Zhao. She had seen Chun Zhao in the past. When facing evil spirits, he didn't do anything and just made them disappear. But she couldn't tell how he did it. Not just her, even Alice, who had the most comprehensive knowledge of magic, didn't know. In the past, Chun Zhao had used Blackie's ability because no one could see him. But now, Chun Zhao had his own small world. Against a regular evil spirit, Chun Zhao's small world could easily destroy it. Of course, this was only against regular evil spirits. If it was a stronger creature, the ability would be useless. Right now, most of the association's building was enveloped in Chun Zhao's small world. Actually, even if Aduz didn't forget to run toward Chun Zhao, he wouldn't be in danger. Aduz knew that it was safe, so he told Chun Zhao and Gaia and then went to kill evil spirits. This old man wants to prove himself more than anyone else, Gaia said, looking at Aduz's back. Oh, does Aduz have any family? Yes. I remember he said that because his daughter and son-in-law don't have a high income, he came out to work. Then he was hired by West. His family always thought that he was a security guard in a regular company, Gaia said. But he doesn't dare to let his family know that he's doing such a dangerous job. So he only puts a portion of his income into his daughter's bank card. Ever since Chun Zhao became the president of the supernatural organization, the benefits and salaries of the members had increased greatly. Of course, Aduz was one of them. Chun Zhao's original intention was that since they'd chosen to join the association, it was a dangerous job. At the very least, He had to make sure that everyone wouldn't encounter difficulties because of their family's burden. "Oh, how's your son?" "He's already adapted to the environment here." Gaia smiled. Chun Zhao's expression was one that he would only show to his closest family. When he talked about Jerlin, he had the same feeling. "Next time the association travels, bring your son." "We'll see." Gaia stood up. She wasn't really willing to bring her son to mingle with the people from the association. It wasn't that she looked down on the people in the association. It was just like a father who was a cop, but didn't want his son to be one too. Jinkira looked at Chun Zhao and Gaia speechlessly. Couldn't they tell how dangerous the situation outside was? They were just talking about their daily lives, right? Suddenly, Jinkira heard a sound from behind. Jinkira turned around and saw a crack on the glass container. Chun Zhao and Gaia also looked at the glass container. Chapter 1205. Cracks kept spreading on the glass container. Gatella suddenly took a few steps back. She could feel a terrifying chill seeping out of the container. Even though the container wasn't opened yet, the cold air seeping out of the cracks already made her shiver uncontrollably. Pamela destroyed the container herself and then walked out. Pamela was a spirit, but because the container wasn't ordinary glass, spirits couldn't penetrate it. Pamela's aura and temperament had completely changed. Pamela was feeling the unfamiliar power in her body. Gage looked at Pamela. Pamela was giving off an oppressive feeling that came from deep within her soul. Pamela was a wailing banshee. She still couldn't control her aura completely, but Pamela could feel that she was many times stronger than before. She even had the vague thought of challenging Chun Zhao, but this dangerous thought only lasted for a moment. Chun Zhao had said that he knew another veteran wailing banshee. Then he definitely knew how strong she was. Pamela landed before Chun Zhao and knelt down to greet him. "President." "Yes, we're not some feudal organization. Why are you kneeling on the ground?" Chun Zhao said calmly. "It's a mess outside because of you." Pamela had already noticed the situation outside. "President, can you tell him to come back? Are you going to deal with those evil spirits alone?" "Yes." Pamela nodded. "You can all come back. Pamela's already awake." Everyone hurried back to the headquarters and congratulated Pamela. Pamela was an old member. Other than the oldest members, she was the first to join the supernatural organization in Chun Zhao's era. Pamela had a good relationship with the people in the society, so everyone was happy for Pamela's achievements. Pamela walked out of the living room. She was already awake, but the evil spirit's eyes were still shining brightly. It was like a group of dogs looking at a piece of fat meat. "Chun, can Pamela deal with it alone?" "Probably. The other wailing banshee, I know, can do it." Of course, that wailing banshee is stronger than Pamela now. After a short silence, hundreds of evil spirits charged at Pamela. Suddenly, Pamela shrieked. Her voice was like a huge wave of terror, rushing in all directions. All the glass windows in the headquarters shattered in an instant. That sound was too impactful. Everything shattered in an instant. Even though Pamela wasn't targeting the members of the Union, everyone still covered their ears. Frowning, Chun Zhao immediately used the small world to block the magical attack. The screech of the banshee had a great impact on the soul. To put it bluntly, the banshee's attack was a high-frequency sound mixed with magic. Although the principle was simple, only a banshee could produce such a high-frequency sound. However, this kind of long-range attack without any substance was exactly the kind of attack that the small world could restrain. Only then did everyone feel much better. As for the invading evil spirits, they didn't have his protection, and they were facing Pamela's scream head-on. In an instant, hundreds of evil spirits were crushed. That scene was too shocking. Everything was torn to shreds. Gage's face was full of shock. Was the supernatural organization really the cowardly organization that my friend had mentioned? Everyone here was extremely powerful, and every one of them could take charge of an area by themselves. Even the weakest Adus dared to participate in the battle himself. Even though he couldn't be of much use, his courage was praiseworthy. However, these powerful spiritualists weren't leaders. This Asian was a leader. Gage couldn't understand this. In Gage's opinion, the strongest should be the leader. Or maybe this man was a strategist. He was the president mainly because he could manage. Gage guessed in his heart. However, after seeing the supernatural organization's power, he was interested too. Perhaps joining the supernatural organization was a good choice. He could also grow by interacting with them. Henry, ask your people to repair the headquarters tomorrow. Yes, President. West, arrange the new people's living arrangements and entry procedures. Yes, President. Also, call Doña Tienchi over tomorrow. We've solved his problem. He should fulfill his promise. Understood. Okay, I'm going back. The next day, Chun Zhao wanted to relax and spend time with Fei Lai and Jerlin. However, he was interrupted by West's call. President, are you free now? Can you come to the headquarters? What's up? Doña Tienchi and Genkira are fighting. Genkira? The new person from yesterday, right? How did she fight with Doña Tienchi? Genkira doesn't just have the Berserker bloodline. She's also a blacksmith and has the forging skills passed down from her ancestors, West said. You should come to the headquarters first. It's hard to explain over the phone. Okay, I'll come now. Chun Zhao thought that was just a quarrel between two people in the same profession. However, when he arrived at the headquarters, he saw Doña Tienchi and Genkira slashing at each other with their own weapons. Chun Zhao had seen Genkira's power. He wouldn't dare to say that he was unrivaled, but he was many times stronger than a regular person. However, Doña Tienchi was using a samurai sword and was also very strong. The two were actually evenly matched. Seeing that the two couldn't decide the winner, Chun Zhao looked at West. West wasn't in a hurry either. He stood at the side with his coffee and savored it carefully. West, how long have they been fighting? Half an hour. Why did they fight? Previously, I called Doña Tienchi over and we had a good talk. Doña Tienchi only made one request, which was to have a smithing workshop. In the end, Genkira heard it, and Genkira also wanted a smithing workshop. Over time, they started by ridiculing each other, and then they started to say that the other party's smithing skills were mediocre. Then it's just a competition of forging skills and whose weapons and equipment are better. Is there a need to fight like this? Chapter 1206. Just then, Gaia arrived. Beside Gaia was a little boy. He should be Gaia's child. However, Chun Zhao was surprised that Gaia would bring the child here. As for the fight between Doña Tienchi and Gatella, no one cared anymore. The people at the entrance of the headquarters all gathered around Gaia and the boy. The 5-year-old boy looked very shy. Handsome, what's your name? Rupert walked up and looked down at the boy. Evans, you should introduce yourself, Gaia said in a gentle tone while patting the boy's shoulder. The boy poked his head out from behind Gaia. Somewhat afraid, he asked, Mom, are you going to put me in the orphanage? Everyone was stunned. The boy seemed to think that Gaia didn't want him anymore. No, Mom will always love you. No one can make you leave me, except your future wife. No one had ever seen such a gentle Gaia. Morad was like a gangster and still had a mohawk hairstyle, but his bad habits had been corrected under Chun Zhao's pressure. Morad walked up and threw a seed in front of Evans. Immediately, a persimmon tree grew from the ground, covered in golden persimmons. Little guy, do you want one? Evans looked at Morad in shock. No one expected Morad to know how to coax a kid. Their impression of Morad was still in the past. After all, he'd been a gangster before. However, after Chun Zhao became the president of the association, he'd gone to Morad's group and hung Morad's friends and himself on the outer wall of the building, forcing Morad to cut ties with them. Only then did Morad stop thinking and stay in the headquarters obediently. Can I have one? Of course. Doña Tienchi and Gatella's pride was hurt. Actually, they were a bit tired after fighting for so long. When they saw Chun Zhao, they'd wanted to stop. They'd been waiting for Chun Zhao to stop so that he could judge them. But Chun Zhao had no intention of stopping them at all. Especially after Gaia and Evans arrived, everyone's attention had shifted away from them. This hurt their self-esteem even more. They felt like they were monkeys in a circus, and there was no audience at all. Not long after, Evans was attracted by everyone's enthusiasm and friendliness, and everyone played some small spells for Evans. Chun Zhao and Gaia sat on a nearby bench. Gaia, why did you bring Evans here? Chun Zhao asked. Take a look at this. Gaia took out a few pieces of children's doodles, which were obviously Evans's work. However, these creations looked very strange, because these graffiti made people feel very uncomfortable. That's right, he felt uncomfortable. This was not an abstract painting. It was more like something weird and terrifying had been attached to it. Have you asked Evans? Yes, he said he saw someone following him. His kindergarten teacher also called me and said that Evans seems to be hysterical. He always reports to the teacher that someone is following him. I can't be sure, so I brought him here. You or someone else could take a look. Maybe you guys can give me an answer. He could understand Gaia's uneasiness and worry. If this happened to Jerlin, Chenjiao would also feel uneasy and worried. As parents, everyone felt the same way. Usually, when he brought Jerlin to the supermarket, if a stranger looked at her too much, Chenjiao would glare back. How about this? Chenjiao said. Before we get to the bottom of this, we'll leave Evans in the headquarters. There are many people there. If there's really something unclean, it won't break in. Also, I'll make an amulet for Evans. Recently, Chenjiao had been studying how to make amulets. There were many amulet-making methods in the Qingyi sex records. Li Qing's amulet was better than Chenjiao's. However, Chenjiao did not want to trouble Li Qing. This was because Li Qing's cultivation was slightly weak, and she was old. She had made amulets for Chenjiao and Ethan, but she had injured herself first. So, Chenjiao really did not have the courage to ask Li Qing to make another amulet. Jalig, take Evans to the mana testing room and do a full body check on him, Jalig said. Just then, get Kira and Dongye Tianchi stopped fighting. They both came before Chenjiao. Chen-san, please judge for me. You should call me president now, Chenjiao said. Actually, Chenjiao did not care what people called him. But right now, they both had to do the justice himself. Dongye Tianchi's way of addressing him would subtly get closer to Chenjiao. Chenjiao hoped to maintain his dignity and fairness before the two rookies. I haven't joined the organization yet. If they can't give me a satisfactory explanation, then I refuse to join. Dongye Tianchi felt that since Chenjiao and West had interacted with him many times, they must have acknowledged his skills. He believed in his value. The supernatural organization would definitely not give up on him. Unfortunately, he was facing Chenjiao. Chenjiao stood up and looked down at Dongye Tianchi. Mr. Dongye Tianchi, you seem to have forgotten your promise. We'll help you deal with Devil Blade and Ghost King, and you won't make any request to join the supernatural organization. Now, you're going to break your promise. Do you think that I, or the supernatural organization, can let you come and go as you please? Or could it be that you're just using us? Dongye Tianchi suddenly felt immense pressure. The people around him did not feel anything except for Dongye Tianchi. He felt as if something was pressing down on him. Even the air became extremely heavy. Chenjiao's unreasonable attitude directly messed up Dongye Tianchi's thoughts. He did not expect Chenjiao to be so tough. Chenjiao was also threatening him with what he'd said before. Instantly, Dongye Tianchi lost his composure. He hurriedly said, Chen-san, no, President, you've misunderstood. That's not what I meant. I just hope that you can treat me fairly. But you admit that I'm the president, Chenjiao said coolly. This is a good start. I hate being used, and I hate people breaking their promises even more. Now, if you have any conflicts, just say it. This guy was not strong, but his management and methods were impressive. Chapter 12:07. Jinkira looked down on Chenjiao. However, Chenjiao had enough prestige in the association. Everyone was willing to accept Chenjiao's management and restrictions. This meant that Chenjiao was good enough. Jinkira didn't plan on challenging Chenjiao's authority. President, do you think my request is too much? You know how to forge weapons? Magic weapons? Yes. Dongye Tianchi, you're in the wrong. There are more women in the association than men. Your blatant discrimination against women is very unacceptable. Chenjiao turned his head and looked at Dongye Tianchi. President, I'm not discriminating against women, Dongye Tianchi immediately said. Dongye Tianchi said immediately. If he did not explain himself properly after being accused by Chenjiao, how could he continue working here in the future? I think that some jobs should be differentiated between men and women. I don't think a woman can forge a good weapon. Donya Tianchi was actually like most Japanese. He was a straight man or a male chauvinist. Or perhaps it could be called male chauvinism. Perhaps this idea of his could find supporters in Japan. However, this wasn't Japan. Chen Zhao couldn't support this idea no matter what. After all, there were more women than men in the association. You think I'm not as good as you? Then let's compete. We'll compete in our most professional fields. Whoever loses will be the other's disciple. Do you dare? Jinkira was infuriated. Actually, if Jinkira hadn't said this, Chen Zhao was going to support her and ask Donya Tianchi to apologize. Because no matter how good Jinkira's forging was, Donya Tianchi's words were very offensive to women. However, Jinkira had started this bet herself. What else could Chen Zhao say? Let's compete. If I lose, I'll commit seppuku. Chen Zhao was shocked. This was the most perverted Japanese custom. Chen Zhao respected other people's customs, but he really couldn't stand it in his own territory. If a warrior lost, they would commit seppuku. Circumcision was a very, very painful thing because the victim would not die immediately after being circumcised. Therefore, people who committed seppuku often couldn't complete the process themselves. At this time, there would be a designated executioner. This executioner was called jiekuo. He would wait for the person who was about to perform a disembowelment to be unable to continue. Then, jiekuo would stand behind and chop off the person's head. A competition is a competition, Chen Zhao said coldly. I hope that every member of the association has the courage to take responsibility. If anyone loses, they have to follow the agreement and become the other party's disciple. You can't run away by cutting your abdomen. Chen Zhao didn't want Donya Tianchi to ruin the atmosphere of the association. If he won and forced Jingora to perform a disembowelment, what would that mean? If he lost, he would happily commit seppuku. How was he going to behave in the society in the future? Besides, Donya Tianchi still had a wife and daughter. Coming to the supernatural organization and then going home to commit seppuku, how unfair would that be to his wife and child? If Donya Tianchi wanted to use cruel methods to deal with his enemies, he would not hesitate. Chen Zhao wouldn't object to any kind of method. Anyway, Chen Zhao had done a lot of perverted tortures and killings. He often did things that disgusted him, but he couldn't accept suicide. Yes, President, I'll do that, but I won't lose. But I won't take her as my disciple either. My disciple doesn't need a woman. Chen Zhao covered his head. He already regretted recruiting this iron-willed man. If he'd known, he would have chased him away. How do you guys plan on competing? Chen Zhao asked. Forging weapons, of course, Jingora said. How about this? Donya Tianchi said. President also needs weapons, so we'll each forge a weapon. Whoever likes the weapon more will be the winner. President, what kind of weapon do you need? Jingora asked. A sword. I want a sword, a heavy sword. The more durable, the better. The hilt must be within the range that a normal person can hold with one hand. Within this range, the heavier, the better. The more durable and heavy, the better. I don't have a strict requirement for mana conductivity. It's best if you can have it, but if not, I won't force it. The heavy sword Chen Zhao wanted was mainly for close-range combat. When he used it, his main attack method was to coordinate with his speed and strength. Mana wouldn't be poured into the sword, so Chen Zhao didn't need much with or without mana conductivity. Chen Zhao thought for a moment and then said, Also, I need 12 light swords. They also have to be durable and have a high requirement for mana conductivity. Chen Zhao wanted 12 light swords to control swords with music, so the higher the mana conductivity, the better. At the same time, he wanted them to be light. Light meant that Chen Zhao could control his music more easily. Actually, compared to the first time, Chen Zhao was already much stronger. He could control more swords now. However, Chen Zhao was more familiar with 12 swords. If he controlled more swords, Chen Zhao's battle rhythm might be messed up. It would be like putting the cart before the horse. Or he could control thousands of swords like Old Turtle, using absolute quantity to make up for quality. If he couldn't reach Old Turtle's level, he'd continue to use 12 swords to fight. When Chen Zhao's quantity increased by leaps and bounds, he would consider practicing more sword riding. President, you asked for a lot. I'm afraid we can't complete it in a short time. Yes, just the materials will take a long time. If you lack any materials, ask West. If the society doesn't have them, we'll try our best to get them for you. If we don't lack materials, we can complete it in about 10 days, Donya Tianchi estimated. I want the same amount of time, Gatella said. Okay, we'll wait for the 13th. I'll decide who wins and who loses. Chen Zhao looked at West. Go and build 2 workshops. Yes, President. Zhalik had just gotten rid of Jinkura and Donya Tianchi when he came out with Evans. President, Gaia, how is it? Is there anything strange about Evans? President, Evans is just a normal kid. At least, the society's equipment didn't detect any mana in him. Oh, so there's no problem? Chen Zhao asked. Normally, being able to see things normal people couldn't was mostly due to one's spiritual body. But since it was a normal person's body, they probably couldn't see supernatural things. But this made things more troublesome. Chapter 1208. Hysteria was actually a mental illness too. Mental illnesses had always been the most troublesome for humans. Even Chen Zhao was often helpless when it came to mental illnesses, especially children. This was especially true for children. Children's minds were very active, and because they didn't have a complete worldview, they often made some unrealistic fantasies. However, adults often didn't approve of these fantasies. Children would become autistic or even depressed. Mental illnesses mostly required communication and companionship. Gaia, spend more time with Evans. If you don't have time, let the child stay at the headquarters. Of course, it's fine if he goes to kindergarten with children of the same age. Anyway, he needs company. Try not to let Evans be alone. Also, if Evans says that he saw something, don't deny it, regardless of whether you saw it or not. Chun, is Evans's condition serious? Actually, children's minds are the most active when they're 5 to 10 years old. Their brains start to accept large amounts of knowledge, so it's natural for children to fantasize. After this age, children's psychology will gradually mature and their worldview will become complete. They'll gradually forget those unrealistic fantasies. Both fantasies and hysteria only happen when children are lonely. As long as there's company, they won't think too much. Also, we can't be completely sure that Evans is hysteria. It might be something we don't know yet. Gaia looked at Evans from afar. Evans was playing with Rupert at the moment. Right now, Evans didn't seem to have any problems at all. It wasn't that Evans would definitely develop autism or depression. Actually, hysteria was a common mental illness for children. The best treatment for hysteria was companionship. One couldn't use a forceful attitude to deny or correct it. Children believed that what they saw was the truth, even if it was just their imagination. Do you want to see a psychologist? You can see a psychiatrist, but you can't go to a hospital that's too obvious. Children are very resistant to hospitals. Once they find out that they're sent to a hospital, they'll be very sensitive to the fact that they're sick. By the way, I know a psychiatrist. She's also involved in some supernatural incidents. I can make an appointment with her and ask her to come to the headquarters to give Evans psychological counseling. I think you could do psychological counseling. Gaia trusted him more. I know this theoretical knowledge. I've been exposed to such topics in school, but I'm not a professional. Professional matters should be left to the professionals. Okay, make an appointment with that psychologist. Gaia had absolute trust in Chen Zhao. I planned to move to the headquarters. After all, Gaia had her own job, and she was willing to give it up for Evans. However, she was more happy to have the best of both worlds. There was definitely no shortage of people in the headquarters, and most of the people in the headquarters were quite optimistic. Even the gloomy Helios was a girl with a soft heart. And the people here are not prejudiced. In addition, the environment here was good, so Gaia was willing to let Evans live here. Even if Evans had to come into contact with some firearms, as long as Evans's physical and mental health could be improved, it didn't matter. In the afternoon, Chen Zhao received a call from Denver, asking him to return to Mountain Town. He had something to discuss. Not only did Denver invite Chen Zhao, but also Dean Slot. When Chen Zhao saw Dean Slot, he took the initiative to congratulate him. Dean, congratulations. You've been recognized by the townspeople again. To be honest, Chun Zhao was not surprised at all that Dean Slot had become the mayor again. It could be seen from the way the new mayor governed Mountain Town that he didn't have any management talent or political ability. It was impossible for him to defeat the old fox, Dean Sloat, with such a standard. Even when Dion Sloat stirred up trouble in the town, the new mayor did not react in time. By the time he found out, Dean Slot had already chased him out of office. Huh, Chun, you're joking. I have to thank you. Without your support, I wouldn't have been able to stay as mayor for long. Dean Slot had promised to rebuild the brewery in 3 months. If he could not rebuild it in 3 months, he would probably become the shortest mayor in Mountain Town's history. That's why I'm here to talk about rebuilding the brewery. I don't think we have any objections to rebuilding the brewery, right? Dean Slot asked. Indeed. Chun Zhao nodded. At the same time, he glanced at Denver. We just need to discuss some details. Chun, what details do you not understand? The first is the ownership of the brand, Denver said. Chun, do you want to take the old brand for yourself? Not take it for myself. I want to buy it. I hope that there won't be any trademark disputes in the future. You know that trademark disputes are usually caused by multiple owners, so I hope that we can clarify the ownership of the trademark. How much do you want to buy it for? Dean Slot asked. 500,000, Denver said, picking up where Chun left off. That's impossible. The original Mountain Beer's annual turnover is more than 10 million US dollars, and the annual profit is also more than 2 million US dollars. You want to buy this trademark with just 500,000 US dollars? That's impossible. Dion Sloat's reaction was very strong. Even Chun Zhao felt that Denver's price was too low. But that was how business was. It was like bargaining in a market. One side would ask for a sky-high price, while the other side would bargain. Chun, Mr. Denver, actually, there's nothing wrong with joint ownership of the trademark. You don't have to spend a single cent to own and use the trademark. I can also promise that I won't interfere with the production and operation of the brewery. Denver did not believe this. Chun Zhao would not believe it either. If the trademark was in someone else's hands, it was like their lifeline was in someone else's hands. If the trademark did not increase its value and earn a few $1,000,000 a year, the Mountain Town government might not take it seriously. But what if the trademark's value increased by 10 times? What if it increased by 100 times? By then, the Mountain Town government would demand a hefty fee for using the trademark. If the two sides could not reach an agreement, even if Mountain Town only owned 50% of the trademark, they could still force the brewery to stop production. The trademark could only be sold with 100% rights. Chapter 1209. In the end, Chun Zhao bought the trademark for $2. 5 million. Usually, the value of a trademark was around 10 times the annual profit of the trademark. However, Mountain Beer's brand value had already dropped greatly because it had left the market. So $2. 5 million was within a range that both sides could accept. Then, Chun Zhao and Denver were most concerned about the ownership of the land needed to build the factory. First, the production needed water. Then, it needed water from Mirror Lake. So, it couldn't be too far from Mirror Lake. Otherwise, if it was built on Chun Zhao's private land, everything would be fine. But Chun Zhao also didn't want to build a factory on his private land. Although the brewery wouldn't have any pollution problems, Chun Zhao still didn't like it. So, Chun Zhao was more inclined to buy a piece of land near his private land. The land didn't need to be too big. 20 hectares was enough. The difference in land wasn't that big. Of course, Dion Slot wanted to just rent the land, or exchange the land for a certain share of the brewery's profits. Chun Zhao and Denver, on the other hand, wanted to buy the land directly. Only when everything belonged to Chun Zhao would he be able to make the final decision. Although the Mountain Town government wouldn't make things difficult for the brewery if they rented the land, there was still a certain risk. If they had a falling out in the future, the government would take back the land. Then, the brewery would definitely have to move, which would affect production or even stop production. In the end, the value of the brand would be affected. Chun Zhao was someone who liked to have everything in his hands. He was no longer the person who had just come to America and wandered around. He had the power to control everything now. Of course, Chun Zhao would only touch the things and fields that he could control. For example, doing business. Chun Zhao knew that he wasn't cut out for it. So, he wouldn't interfere with the brewery's production and management. Nevertheless, Chun Zhao was sure that the brewery could make money. This was why Chun Zhao had entered this industry. Chun Zhao wasn't that great. He wasn't doing this for the people of Mountain Town. At the end of the day, Chun Zhao's goal was simple, to make money. In the end, Chun Zhao bought a piece of barren land 15 kilometers west of Mirror Lake instead of the brewery's original location. Dion was willing to sell the land to Chun Zhao at a low price, but Chun Zhao had to agree to some conditions. For example, within 3 years of the brewery's opening, more than 70% of the employees must be residents of Mountain Town, and the minimum salary must be less than $600 per week. For an ordinary worker, a weekly salary of $600 was considered a normal salary. However, this was only for ordinary employees. The salaries of some technical workers and management personnel were definitely higher than this level. Dion Sloat's request was not only to provide jobs for the town's residents, but also to allow the Mountain Town's employees to infiltrate the management. This was the only way to control the production and operation of the brewery. As for this, Chun Zhao believed that Denver could handle it. After Dean Sloat left, Chun Zhao and Denver discussed again. Chun Zhao realized that if he wanted to achieve something in the first year, he needed to produce at least 100,000 tons. It wasn't a small fight like Chun Zhao had originally planned. In this case, the investment required was very large. To ensure that they did not make a loss in the first year, they would need at least $30 million. This was far more than what Chun Zhao had initially expected. He didn't lack money now. Even if he ran out of money, the bank would be happy to lend him money. This was because Chun Zhao had a lot of high-quality assets. However, the investment of $30 million still exceeded Chun Zhao's initial expectations. Chun Zhao's original plan was to build 2 beer production lines and produce around 20,000 tons per year. However, Denver's plan was to expand the scale of production. The result of expanding the scale of production was, of course, more investment. This wasn't something that could be solved with just a few more production lines. The corresponding facilities also needed to be expanded, such as the fermenter area, the sewage treatment facilities, the storage warehouse, and so on. They all needed to be expanded. The number of employees also needed to be greatly increased. Denver, after the $30 million, I don't need to invest anymore? Chun Zhao asked. Mr. Chun, in principle, you don't need to invest anymore. If you need more, we can get a loan from the bank. I don't like loans. President, you've made a mistake. Taking a loan is actually more cost-effective than taking out money from your personal account. The interest on such a huge loan is usually not very high. In a situation where the income is equal, the bank's interest rate will be much lower than the rate at which your money depreciates if you leave it in the bank. Secondly, after you take a loan from the bank, your interest will be linked to the bank. When you deal with a lot of problems, the bank will help you. For example, if you put pressure on the local government or even the Los Angeles government, the bank will take the initiative to help you. Also, if you contact the seller, the bank will help you as much as possible. Most people's understanding was that the bank was a place to store money. In reality, it wasn't like that. The biggest function of the bank wasn't to store money. The bank was a very complicated business system. They were involved in any industry that could make money. The bank would even own shares in many industries through the mortgage of the borrower. Chun Zhao thought for a moment and said, I said that you'll be in charge of the brewery's production and I won't interfere. If you think that the loan is beneficial to the brewery's development, then we'll do as you say. Denver nodded. He also liked working with a boss like Chun Zhao. For managers, they weren't afraid of ignorant investors. They were afraid of investors who were too controlling. Investors only wanted profits. They didn't need to have an absolute understanding of an industry. However, if they interfered with the manager's arrangements without understanding, they might disrupt the original development process and rhythm. Also, we need to start building the brewery as soon as possible, Denver said. Chun Zhao nodded. I'll contact the construction company as soon as possible. After saying goodbye in Denver, Chun Zhao called Felwood Cisco. Mr. Fellwood, can your company take on another project now? Fellwood was still supervising the construction at Chun Zhao's private beach construction site. When he heard Chun Zhao's first sentence, he was dumbfounded. Was this rich guy planning to build something again? I'm planning to invest in a new brewery. The construction will cost around $10 million. Can your company take on this project? Yes, it can. Fellwood suppressed his ecstasy. When are you free? Let's talk face to face. He wanted to hug Chun Zhao and give him a big kiss. To him, Chun Zhao was his god of fortune. How about this? I'll go to the beach construction site tomorrow. I want to see how it's going. Chapter 12:10. The next day, Chun Zhao went to the beach construction site. When Chun Zhao arrived at the construction site, the workers all greeted him. In America, construction workers were all high-income people. Their annual salary ranged from tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of dollars. Even a normal worker could get an annual salary of $70,000 to $80,000. Hearing that Chun Zhao was here, Fellwood hurried out of the construction site to welcome him. Mr. Chun, you're here. To Fellwood, Chun Zhao was a true god of fortune. Chun Zhao had given him all the big projects that his company was currently working on. Now another project was delivered to his door. How could not like Chun Zhao? Chun Zhao stood on the beach and looked at the cliff in the distance. The flat top of the cliff had been cut off, and a large portion had been excavated. Because Chun Zhao wanted a villa, he had to excavate a large portion of the cliff's rock stratum. However, he hadn't started construction yet. He'd only completed the foundation. He also had to pave the road and clean the beach. Fellwood kept explaining the progress of the project to Chun Zhao. By the way, Mr. Chun, don't you think we should give this beach a new name? Let's call it Moon Beach, Chun Zhao said casually. Chun Zhao really didn't have much talent in naming. This was the only name that popped up in his mind. He might as well use it. After that, Chun Zhao and Fellwood discussed the construction of the new brewery. Fellwood wanted to continue working with Chun Zhao. Thus, Fellwood Cisco gave Chun Zhao a good price for the beer factory. Basically, he didn't make much money. Of course, a project didn't make any money on the surface. There were no direct benefits, but there were still some benefits. For example, some architects and engineers designed and built famous skyscrapers not only for actual income, but also for fame. Then, Chun Zhao gave Denver's contact information to Fellwood. Mr. Fellwood, go do your work. I'll walk around by myself. Okay, then I won't keep you company. Chun Zhao wandered around Bright Moon Beach alone. He was looking forward to his new home. Just then, he received a call from Dell. Hey, Chun, are you free? What? Master wants you to come over. Master? Oh, are you at Sister Ching's place? Yes, I'm at the motel. All right, I'll head over now. When Chun Zhao arrived at the motel, Ethan was crossing his legs. Seeing Chun Zhao, he pointed behind him. Behind. Let's talk later. With that, he went to the back of the motel. When Chun Zhao went to the backyard, he saw Dell holding a long sword and standing in a pine pose. Li Qing stood at the side. Chun Zhao went up to greet her. Sister Qing. Mr. Chun, you're here. Annie Qing, I heard from Dell that you called me. What's up? Dell learned the demon-piercing finger. It's a small spell that can subdue demons. My request to him is to be able to see through your green clothes cloud. Mr. Chun, you don't mind, do you? I don't mind. Dell walked up to Chun Zhao. Chun, don't underestimate me. I can pierce wood with a finger now. Chun Zhao nodded. You could try it on me now. Chun, I'm serious. Don't be careless. I'm not careless. Go ahead, Chun Zhao said as he activated the green clothes cloud. The green clothes cloud used magic as its source. Normal people couldn't see it, but Dell was a warlock now, so he could see a green barrier covering Chun Zhao's body. Master, when can I learn the green clothes cloud? You can learn it whenever you want, but whether you can master it or not is another matter. Li Qing only hoped for a successor now. Even though Dell's talent was mediocre, she still taught him carefully. Li Qing didn't have the same rules as before. She didn't have to hold back when she taught a disciple, causing it to be lost in the end. Also, no matter if it was a domestic sect or a foreign master-disciple inheritance, they all had a common characteristic. When a master taught a disciple, he would randomly label the disciple. If the disciple killed a bug, the disciple might be seen as violent. To put it bluntly, the master just didn't like the disciple. Could stomping a bug to death prove that he was a cruel person? This caused many disciples to go down the wrong path because of the master's prejudice. To put it bluntly, it was the master's own prejudice. As for Li Qing, the green-clothes sect was about to be destroyed. If she still stuck to the old rules, she'd probably bring the green-clothes sect's inheritance to her grave. Chun, be careful. Del had tried the magic piercing fingers power. Just now, he'd used it to pierce through a small tree. Right now, his fingertips glowed with green light. Chun Zhao could feel the faint magic power on Del. Chun Zhao estimated Del's magic. It should be around 20 to 30. This amount of mana was already very weak. Using the magic piercing finger was also difficult. Del said, "I'm coming." With that, he suddenly pointed at Chun Zhao's chest. Crack! Del's finger was broken. Up! Del clutched his finger and howled in pain. Chun, why is your chest so hard? It's because you haven't mastered the magic piercing finger. Li Qing shook her head. Del's magic piercing finger didn't even cause a ripple in Chun Zhao's Qingyi mist. It was obvious how weak it was. The three sat to the side, and Chun Zhao straightened Del's bones. Master, can Chen's Qingyi mist stop bullets? That depends on your magic. Even if you can learn Qingyi mist now, you can only barely stop bullets. You can't completely block bullets. Mr. Chun should be able to block bullets. Li Qing's eyes were very accurate. Indeed, when Chun Zhao first learned Qingyi mist, he couldn't completely block bullets either. But now, Chun Zhao's body was strong enough. Even without the Qingyi armor, he could block bullets with his body alone. Master, the hotel opens tomorrow. Are you coming? Del asked. No, I still have work, Li Qing said. Li Qing said, this 8 trigrams mirror is my gift to you. Hang it at the front door of the hotel. Thank you, Master. Del looked at Chun Zhao. Chun, I don't need to invite you. I told you last time. Chapter 12:11. Del didn't know much about Chun Zhao's strength. Li Qing, on the other hand, knew something about him. But she didn't know that Chun Zhao had already reached Shanqing, which was clear heaven and earth. Even with her understanding of Chun Zhao in the past, Del couldn't compare to the ultimate transformation plane. Del's talent was average. It would be good if he could learn a few spells. Plus, Li Qing was old and didn't have as much energy as young people, so she could only teach Del. If Del wanted to continue cultivating in the future, he would have to rely on Chun Zhao's guidance. The next day, Chun Zhao arrived at the hotel that Del and Risfar had opened early in the morning. But he wasn't here for the opening ceremony. He was really not interested in this kind of ceremony. He was here to help Del see if there was anything wrong with the hotel. After cleaning last time, there were no more problems with the hotel. Chun Zhao was mainly here to reassure Del. In the past, Del had been suspicious about the strange powers and gods. But now he was a warlock. Of course, in the West, he was called a wizard. At noon, the hotel was filled with guests. Del and Risfar didn't have time to accompany Chun Zhao. Chun Zhao didn't have anything to do here, so he sat on the rooftop. There was a huge swimming pool and bar on the rooftop. Today was the opening ceremony, but the rooftop wasn't open. Chun Zhao still liked the air here. The banquet restaurant below was filled with people. Chun Zhao really didn't like that atmosphere. Del and Risfar didn't invite all upper-class guests. There were also some opportunists. Chun Zhao went inside to get a glass of wine and stood there for 3 minutes. 2 groups of people came over to test Chun Zhao's identity or ask for investments. Chun Zhao was speechless. After knowing that Chun Zhao was just an ordinary employee here, they immediately changed their attitude. The environment was too uncomfortable. The only people Chun Zhao knew, Del and Risfar, couldn't stay with him forever. The sea breeze blew from the south to the north. It was very convincing. One had to admit that after the change in the environment, the air became fresher. As long as there were no problems with the management, Chun Zhao was sure that business would be booming and money would come in. Just then, a woman came up to the rooftop. She was dressed in black business attire and had her hair in a ponytail. She was tall and slender, and she was wearing sky-high heels. She was holding a walkie-talkie in her hand. When the woman saw someone by the pool, she was stunned for a moment. Then he strode to Chen Zhao's side. "Sir, this place is not open yet. Please leave." Lying on the sun lounger, Chen Zhao moved his sunglasses up slightly and glanced at the woman. "I'm not a guest here. That's the staff here. Hundreds of people in the hotel are busy, and you came here to slack off? Which department are you from? Who's your superior? I'm not an employee here either. Are you trying to tell me that you're a guest here?" "Sir, the hotel hasn't officially opened yet, so we don't have any guests. If you can't tell me who you are, I can only call security. You better inform your two bosses first." "Oh, give me a glass of whiskey." "Thanks." Chun Zhao yawned lazily. When the house in Bright Moon Beach was built, he would be able to enjoy the sea breeze every day. The woman looked at Chun Zhao with sparkling eyes, somewhat hesitant. She wasn't sure of Chun Zhao's identity. If he was a guest invited by her two bosses, shouldn't he be in the banquet hall now? But she didn't have Dell and Risfar's contact information. She was only the hotel's customer service manager, not the general manager. There were still a few big shots above her. Plus, if Chun Zhao was really Dell and Risfar's friend, she might offend Chun Zhao because of this. "Okay, sir. There's still many facilities that aren't open yet. I hope you won't wander around." With that, the woman turned and left. As the customer service manager of a super 5-star hotel, Molly knew how to control herself. Otherwise, she wouldn't have gotten this job. The hotel wasn't open yet, but it was very busy today. There were many things that she had to deal with. She didn't have time to waste with Chen Zhao here. "Miss Molly, there are two people in the lobby. They say that they're hotel guests." "Hotel guests?" Molly was confused. "I'll come down now." Molly hurried downstairs. She saw a beautiful pregnant woman with a cute girl in her arms. "Hello, Mississippi." Molly walked over. "How can I help you?" "Your boss invited me here. He told me to stay here for a few days and experience it." "So it's a guest experience." Molly immediately understood. After the hotel opened, they couldn't let the guests stay immediately. There had to be an experience period, the hotel experience and service experience. Usually, the guest experience was the hotel boss's friend. "Okay, please wait a moment," Molly said. "Can I use your driver's license?" Of course. Molly found it quickly, but she also found information about other residents who were experiencing it. The Asian was also a guest experience. No wonder, Molly thought to herself. That Asian seems to be living with them. This should be husband and wife or boyfriend and girlfriend. "Excuse me, is this Mr. Chan Zhao?" "Fail eyes. He's my boyfriend." "Is he in the hotel now?" "Yes, he's on the rooftop." "Okay, thank you." After Fail Eye checked in, Molly had the waiter bring Fail Eye's luggage upstairs. Fail Eye brought little Jerlin to the top floor. "Chun, you're too relaxed." Fail Eye looked at Chun Zhao, who was lying beside the pool. "Didn't you say you were going to check Dell and Johnny's problems? Is this how you're helping?" Chun Zhao sat up and looked at Fail Eye. "There's no problems. You can't let me keep wandering around, right, Dad?" Jerlin had already pounced on Chun Zhao and sat on his stomach. Actually, Dell wanted Chun Zhao's family to experience for a few days so that Chun Zhao could stay in the hotel. There were always some hidden things that might not appear immediately. If something went wrong after Chun Zhao's inspection and they had to find Chun Zhao, it would be even more troublesome. So, it was better to let Chun Zhao stay for a few more days. If something went wrong, Chun Zhao could solve it immediately. Chun Zhao didn't care. He could eat and stay for free for a few days and get high-quality service. Why not? At night, the waiter pushed a sumptuous dinner to their suite. Chun Zhao and Fei Lai enjoyed a candlelit dinner. Just as they were about to rest, Chun Zhao's call came. Chun Zhao looked at his phone. It was Lit Grove. He looked at the time. It was 11 p.m. Chapter 12:12. After hesitating for a long time, Chun Zhao finally picked up the phone. "Teacher." Ritter Grove seemed a bit scared. "What's wrong?" "I got a corpse today," Ritter Grove said. "Get to the point. This corpse is a bit strange. I'm not sure if he's dead or not. I'm not even sure if he's human." "You're in the hospital now?" "Yes. I'll go over now." Chun Zhao hurried to Chantilly Hospital. Silently, He arrived outside the morgue. Teacher. Seeing Chun Zhao, Ritter Grove heaved a sigh of relief. Take me to the corpse. Ritter Grove brought Chun Zhao into the morgue. He stopped before a freezer and pulled it open. There was a corpse inside, but there didn't seem to be anything special about it. Chun Zhao looked at Ritter Grove in confusion. Is there anything special about this corpse? Ritter Grove didn't speak. He just looked at the corpse. Suddenly, the corpse's face changed. It was like a flash of an image. The corpse was still a corpse. In that instant, Chun Zhao saw the corpse's face turn into an unfamiliar, twisted face. This. Chun Zhao furrowed his brows in deep thought. What is this? Who is he? Or is he even human? And is he dead? Teacher, do you know what's going on? What's his identity? Ritter Grove took out the registration form and handed it to Chun Zhao. Thomas Bailey, postman. Time of death is 5:20 in the afternoon. The cause of death is a car accident. He died after being sent to the hospital. Just then, there was a commotion outside. It seemed like someone had come, and there were quite a few of them. Then, the door to the morgue opened. I don't care. I want to see my husband. I don't believe it. I don't believe he's dead. Chun Zhao looked. The woman who was screaming at the top of her lungs seemed to be the customer service manager from the hotel today. Molly wiped her tears as she walked into the morgue. Beside her were the nurses from the hospital. They were all trying to persuade Molly. When they saw Chun Zhao and Ritter Grove in the morgue, they were all stunned. When Emily saw her husband's body, she immediately cried and rushed over. Bailey, how could you do this? How could you abandon me like this? Molly hit her husband's chest and cried her heart out. Suddenly, Thomas Bailey's hand moved. Chun Zhao frowned. Molly suddenly shivered. Bailey? You're not dead? You're not dead, are you? Who? At this moment, everyone heard Thomas Bailey's long exhale. Doctor, quick, quick! Bailey's not dead. He's not dead. Please save him. A few nurses rushed forward to check. Thomas Bailey was indeed breathing again. They did not dare to delay and quickly dragged Thomas Bailey out of the freezer. Chun Zhao looked at Molly. She seemed to be crying her heart out, but she wasn't as sad as he'd imagined. Thomas Bailey's resurrection was also orchestrated by her. Glancing at Chun Zhao and Ritter Grove, Molly wiped away her tears and followed them out of the morgue. Teacher, there's something wrong with that woman. Of course. Wasn't it obvious? Strangely, he didn't feel any magic power from Molly. He didn't even feel that Molly was casting a spell when she slapped the corpse. After emergency treatment, Thomas Bailey's life was no longer in danger and he was sent to the ICU. Molly stood beside Thomas Bailey's bed and gently tidied up his hair. Bailey, how do you feel now? Not good. Not good at all, Thomas Bailey said weakly. How did this happen? How did you get into a car accident? I was found by my own kind, Thomas Bailey said. Same kind? You have the same kind? Yes, that's why I left a third of my life essence with you. I had a feeling that they would come for me, Thomas Bailey said. Get me out of the hospital now. I faked my death and escaped their pursuit, but they'll find out sooner or later that I'm not dead. They'll come again then. I can't stay here. But where are we going? Not us. Molly, following me won't do you any good. You shouldn't get involved in this conflict. Bailey, I love you. I don't care about the danger. Take me away. Molly, you don't understand. Molly knew his identity. Of course, she only knew the gist of it. She knew that he was an alien, but she did not know that he was actually a demon that humans feared. They'd known each other for 3 years and been married for more than a year. If possible, Thomas Bailey only hoped that he could spend the rest of his life with Molly. But what he feared the most had finally happened. They were here, his own kind. I only know that I love you. Molly bit her lower lip and stared at Thomas Bailey with deep love. Thomas Bailey also stared at Molly. I'm a demon, Thomas Bailey said. I'm a demon that goes against God in the legends. Molly's face was pale. She stared at Thomas Bailey. After a long while, Molly's eyes became determined. I don't care. I only know that you're my husband. Let's go now and leave this place forever. Molly helped Thomas Bailey up and put him in the wheelchair. When she pushed Thomas out of the ICU, she saw Chun Zhao and Ritter Grove standing there. Molly left in another direction, pushing Thomas Bailey away in a hurry. Teacher, should we chase after them? Of course. I need to know what happened, Chun Zhao said. That man is clearly not an ordinary person. This is L.A., my territory. I want to know the real reason for his injury and his identity. Molly got into the car with her husband. Her mind was in a mess. She was actually very anxious. After all, she was just an ordinary woman. She was just a woman who married a demon. That was all. From the day they got married, Thomas Bailey had told her that he was not human. Molly was still determined to choose Thomas Bailey. She had also wondered if it was worth it. But women were always so blind when it came to love. Molly, where are we going? Chapter 12:13. Molly suddenly realized that there was a car following them. It's that Asian. Molly saw the two people in the convertible through the rearview mirror. Bailey, look at the convertible behind us. The Asian who was following us was already there when you enter the morgue, and now he's following us again. Is he also a demon? Thomas Bailey glanced at the rearview mirror. We can't tell like this. We escaped from a seal. Some demons have been hiding for hundreds of years. They're more human than humans. We'll only know if they're a demon when they reveal their power. Thomas Bailey said again, Molly, put me down. Let me talk to him. No, you're too weak now. You'll be killed again. But we can't escape. You understand, Thomas Bailey said. You shouldn't be involved in this. Can't we reason with them? Or we can give them money. I have money. Whether it's me or my kind, we never want money, Thomas Bailey said. Thomas Bailey said, what those commanders are after is to resurrect our master. Master? You have a master? A great demon that ravaged Europe for 1,000 years. I was once a human, Thomas Bailey said. Kantz pretended to be our lord and turned us into demons. He cast a spell on us to make us loyal to him. On the first day we were turned into demons, he gave us our first order. Thomas Bailey's body was trembling slightly. Molly turned to look at him. What was the first order he gave? Killing our family with my own hands. Thomas Bailey was already crying. My wife and my child, I killed them with my own hands. Molly opened her mouth. She realized that she couldn't say anything to comfort him. There is nothing more painful than killing the people you loved with your own hands. Then, how did you break free from his control? I never broke free from his control, Thomas Bailey said. Thomas Bailey said, even though he was sealed, his voice still echoed in my mind until we were also sealed. When I woke up from the seal again, that voice gradually disappeared. I woke up a few decades ago, and only after a long time did I realize that 1,000 years had passed. Later, I met someone of the same kind, and that person told me that because of the time of awakening, the effects of Kong Mosa were different. The later the demon awakened, the smaller the effect, and some demons who awakened very early were already planning to resurrect Kong Mosa. If a person could kill that great demon 1,000 years ago, they can do it now. It's impossible. Thomas Bailey shook his head. 1,000 years ago, there were powerful witches and priests everywhere in Europe. But now, there are very few spiritualists who can be considered powerful. Now, why are your kind looking for you? They seem to have found Kantz Mosa's soul, Thomas Bailey said. They plan to gather the former demon army to take back Kantz Mosa's soul and resurrect him. I refused, so they attacked me. By then, their car had already reached the coastal road. But then, their car broke down. Molly started the engine anxiously, but the car wouldn't start. Damn, I should have thrown this stupid car away long ago. Just then, the convertible behind them stopped as well. Molly, don't get out. No matter what happens, don't come out. Thomas Bailey dragged his weak body out of the car and walked toward Chun Zhao and Little Grove. Chun Zhao and Little Grove also got out of the car. Thomas Bailey looked at the two of them. He wanted to tell if they were the same kind as him. Chun Zhao was also studying Thomas Bailey. Aren't you going to introduce yourself? Chun Zhao asked. Just as Thomas Bailey was about to speak, his gaze was suddenly attracted by something behind Chun Zhao. A blinding light shone on the people standing by the road. Chun Zhao also turned his head, but he couldn't see anything because of the blinding light. By the time he could see clearly, a huge force had already hit him. Boom! Chun Zhao was sent flying and then rolled on the ground a few times. A large truck stopped in front of them. The truck was emitting a thick black aura. A figure got out of the truck. Thomas Bailey saw the person and felt like he was facing a great enemy. She had a graceful figure with waist-length hair and was dressed in tight clothes. Kindolin, why won't you let me go? I'm already like this. Let you go? Traitors should be punished. You failed to live up to your master's expectations, so you should be punished. Kindolin pulled out a pair of red daggers from his back. I was tricked the first time, but it won't happen again. You must die. Just then, Chun Zhao, who'd been sent flying, stood up again. It hurts a lot. Why did you hit me with the car? Chun Zhao rubbed his forehead. Teacher, are you okay? Ritter Grove hurriedly ran over and asked in concern. Kindolin and Thomas Bailey both stared at Chun Zhao in shock. Chun Zhao hadn't died from such a crash. Human, you're not dead? Kindolin asked in surprise. Human? So you're not human? Chun Zhao looked at Kindolin. To be honest, even Chun Zhao couldn't see anything strange about Kindolin. Kindolin grinned. Her face suddenly turned into a red-faced demon with a pair of demon horns that curved like a goat's. What do you think, demon? Chun Zhao narrowed his eyes and looked at Thomas Bailey. You're a demon too? Since you're not one of us, you better run now, Thomas Bailey said. She's a demon of torture. If you fall into her hands, you might not even have a chance to die. Really? I'm quite experienced in this area. How about we exchange some ideas? Demon of torture. You want me to exchange ideas with you? Suddenly, Candolin's voice came from behind Chun Zhao. Chun Zhao's neck tightened. Candolin's long hair had curled around his neck. Chapter 12:14. It definitely didn't feel good to have a mouthful of hair stuffed into his mouth. Moreover, the hair was still digging into his throat. Chun Zhao was furious. He couldn't spit out the hair. Chun Zhao grabbed Kandoran's two horns and headbutt. Bang! Kandoran was dizzy from Chun Zhao's headbutt. Chun Zhao headbutt again. Chun Zhao pulled out the hair in his mouth and pressed Kandoran onto the ground. One punch, and another punch. Chun Zhao didn't kill, but Kandoran still couldn't take Chun Zhao's punches. After a few punches, Kandoran was already gasping for air. Chun Zhao pulled Kandoran's horns and stood up again. Kandoran was paralyzed on the ground. If Chun Zhao wasn't still pulling her horns, she would be a piece of rotten meat now. Thomas Bailey was dumbfounded. This female demon was Kandoran. She was definitely not weak. But why was she so weak? Suddenly, the large truck that was parked not far away suddenly erupted with terrifying magic power. Thomas Bailey was shocked. He recognized this magic and could even be said to have a deep memory of it. Just then, Kandoran slowly opened her eyes. She'd also woken up because of the magic. You're dead. Lord Bustil is angry. Thomas Bailey jumped in fright. Who's here? Bostel, one of the 4 great commanders? The truck suddenly burst into red flames, and a wild beast came out from inside the truck. It tore the truck apart. Hellfire burned on its body. It had the head of a bull, the body of a tiger, and a pair of wings on its back. Molly, who was hiding in the car, was also shocked. Thomas Bailey turned and charged toward the car. He pulled Molly and was about to escape. But Bustil suddenly jumped and rushed in front of Thomas Bailey and Molly. Thomas Bailey, do you think you can leave without my permission? Thomas and Molly's faces paled. Teacher, Lit Grove was also a little frightened. He'd heard that Chun Zhao had fought some monster or demon before, but this was his first time facing such a terrifying existence. Drive further away, Chun Zhao said. I don't want my car to be damaged in a battle. Ritter Grove wanted to leave the scene immediately. Hearing Chun Zhao's order, he immediately jumped into the car. But before he could start, Bustil jumped again. If he fell, Chun Zhao's car and Lit Grove would die for sure. Teacher, help! Little Grove shouted. Fuck off. Chun Zhao suddenly sped up. He jumped up and kicked Bustil's stomach. Bustil suffered a heavy blow and smashed into the mountain wall by the side of the road. Don't touch my car. You can't afford it. Lit Grove was speechless. Chun Zhao just wanted to save his car, not himself. Thomas Bailey stared at Chun Zhao in disbelief. Was this guy human? He's fighting with Bustil? Bustil stood up again and shook his head. Roar. Bustil let out an angry roar. His wings fluttered as he rose into the air. How about being my mount? I need a ride right now. Chun Zhao looked at Bustil. This seemed like a good idea. He could fly, but he couldn't fly very high. It would be much more convenient if he had a mount. Lowly human, you think you can? Bustil hovered in the air and looked down at Chun Zhao. Only Lord Kong Mosa has the right to ride me. Forget it if you don't want to. Chun Zhao looked at Bustil. But if I can't have it, no one else can. Bustil suddenly opened his mouth and shot a mouthful of hell flame at Chun Zhao. The dark lava immediately blocked the hell flame. At the same time, Chun Zhao pointed his right arm at Bustil. The energy in the eye of the thunder filled the mouth of gluttony. Crack! Wild electric arcs pierced through Bustil. Bustil didn't expect Chun Zhao to attack like this. He fell from the sky. However, Chun Zhao's electric attack didn't cause any fatal damage. He stood up again. Of course, Chun Zhao's attack wasn't completely ineffective. Bustil was already injured. Little Grove didn't leave either. He watched the fight between Chun Zhao and Bustil. Although he was afraid, he was more interested in the battle between Chun Zhao and Bustil. In the past, he'd heard from others how Chun Zhao fought against powerful enemies. Today, he was finally lucky enough to witness Chun Zhao's fight, and his opponent was a powerful demon. Thomas Bailey and Molly were stunned by the battle in front of them, especially Thomas Bailey. He knew very well how terrifying Bustil was. Bustil was one of the 4 leaders of the demon army. He was also Kong Mosa's mount. Back then, Bustil had killed 3 great demonesses and an archbishop. In the great battle 1,000 years ago, Bustil had been deliberately lured away in order to successfully seal Kong Mosa. But now, this man from the east had actually gained the upper hand with his own strength. Human, do you really think you can beat me? Obviously, Chun Zhao shrugged. I'm starting to get serious now. Bustil stared at Chun Zhao. Suddenly, Kandarin, whom Chun Zhao was holding, launched a sneak attack. Her hair curled around Chun Zhao's legs and body. Human, go to hell. At the same time, Bustil also charged at Chun Zhao, his horn stabbing at Chun Zhao. Not good. Thomas Bailey cried in his mind. Clearly, the man had been too careless. He'd forgotten that there was a dangerous demon beside him. Suddenly, Chun Zhao grinned. Everyone could feel the danger in Chun Zhao's smile. They all felt danger for no reason. He was the one in danger, but why was he smiling like this? Boostir also stopped his charge in an instant. This guy was so dangerous. Bustil's beast-like instincts made him give up this impulse. He couldn't get close to him. Bustil took a few steps back. Chun Zhao stepped forward and tore off Kandarin's hair with his legs. Kandarin shrieked. After all, it was very painful to have one's hair torn off. Even a demon was no exception. Chun Zhao broke one of Kandarin's horns and charged at Bustil. Bustil wanted to fly again, but Chun Zhao had already jumped behind him. The demon's horns pierced into his skin. Then Chun Zhao pulled again. Rip! The skin on Bustil's back was torn open. Chapter 12:15. Bustil could feel what Chun Zhao was going to do. In fact, everyone saw it. Chun Zhao was going to skin Bustil. Blood splashed all over Chun Zhao's body. Bustil's blood burned Chun Zhao's body with a scorching heat. But Chun Zhao didn't care, as if he couldn't feel it. Bustil fell to the ground and rolled around, rubbing against Chun Zhao. He wanted to rub Chun Zhao off his back, but the exposed wounds touched the ground, making him feel even more pain. Chun Zhao pulled with all his might and jumped off Bustil's back. Half of Bustil's skin was peeled off. Everyone stared at Chun Zhao, dumbfounded. By now, Bustil was on the verge of death. But the brutality didn't stop. Chun Zhao was still holding Kandarin's horn and skinning Bustil. From the looks of it, Chun Zhao looked more like a cruel demon. Grove, what do you think about putting this skin in the front hall of the association? Lit Grove's smile was forced. Great, teacher. That's a great idea. He didn't dare to say if it was too terrifying. No matter how terrifying it was, it couldn't be as terrifying as Chun Zhao, right? Lit Grove's fear of Chun Zhao had already seeped into his bones. One had to admit that Bustil had a tenacious life force. Even though his entire skin had been peeled off, he still didn't die. Chun Zhao patted the flames on his body. The dark lava started corroding his body. It wasn't like when the mother's body was corroded and turned black. After Bustil's body was corroded, it became mainly black. There were also red patterns. Finally, Bustil completely became Chun Zhao's puppet. His gaze wasn't so cruel anymore. There was only emotionless coldness. But Bustil's body was so big that Chun Zhao's dark lava had been used up quite a bit. Dark lava had always been one of Chun Zhao's trump cards, so he wasn't willing to use it to corrode useless enemies. For example, the larger deep abyss demons. In terms of strength, they were stronger than Bustil, but they would also use up more dark lava. So Chun Zhao didn't want to use dark lava to corrode the demon's body. However, although Bustil's strength was inferior to the abyssal demons, he could fly. Furthermore, he wouldn't consume too much darkness lava. Chun Zhao had never given up on the idea of making him his mount. Chun Zhao was still obsessed with flying in the sky. Although he could fly now, he couldn't soar freely. Therefore, finding a mount was a good choice. As for flying on his own, he could take his time. He believed that one day, he would be able to fly even higher. Chun Zhao turned around and saw Lit Grove holding a wrench and flipping Kandarin to the ground. Teacher, she wants to escape. Well done. Chun Zhao looked at Thomas Bailey. Thomas and Molly's faces were pale. The man in front of him was even more terrifying than a demon. They had witnessed with their own eyes how this man had cruelly killed this demon. It was an appalling act. Are you going to follow me obediently or fight me? Chun Zhao asked. This has nothing to do with her, Thomas Bailey said. She's just a normal person. If you want something, come at me. I don't care who she is to you, Chun Zhao said. Since she's with you, she's not unrelated. I can tell you whatever you want to know. As long as I know, I can tell you. Please let Molly go. Then who are you? And why are these two demons chasing you? I'm also a demon. Thomas Bailey revealed his true appearance. He had become tall and powerful. Chun Zhao and Lit Grove had already seen his true appearance. Because I don't want to continue following the demon army, Thomas Bailey said. They're chasing me as a traitor. I don't want to live the evil life from 1,000 years ago. Demon army? Chun Zhao was surprised. You're a member of Kong Mosa's demon army? You know Kong Mosa? Yes. The host of 1/3 of his soul is in my hands right now. Before the 15th of this month, the demon army will attack my territory. Only then did Thomas Bailey understand why there were so many of his kind. It turned out that they had to deal with such a terrifying enemy. However, no matter how powerful this man was, he was still just one person. He couldn't fight the entire demon army alone. Chun Zhao pointed at Bastir, who had completely become his puppet. Who is this guy? He's one of the 4 commanders, Bastir, Kong Mosa's mount. What about the other 3 commanders? How strong are they compared to this guy? Bustil is close to the other 2 commanders. The other 3 commanders are Undying Arrow, Shadow Vanguard Eden, and Doan Tucker. Among them, Doan Tucker is the most terrifying. It is said that he directly received 1/3 of Kong Mosa's demonic power. Tell me what magic or battle techniques they're good at. Also, are there any similar strong people in the demon army? Undead Arrow has mastered necromancy. He can awaken the sleeping dead. Shadow Vanguard, Eden never appears in front of the enemy. He will always appear behind the enemy. Candlin is Eden's subordinate. Also, Doan-Tuck is the most mysterious great commander. No one knows how he fights, but there has never been an enemy he couldn't defeat. Thomas Bailey paused for a moment before continuing. Other than the 4 commanders, there are many other strong demons in the demon army. The 4 commanders were chosen because they were the strongest, but there are many demons who are close to them in strength. When we were transformed into demons, some received more demon power, while some received less. Take me, for example. I'm one of the weaker ones. According to Thomas Bailey, there were a lot of demons similar to or close to Bustil. This also showed how terrifying the demon army was. Even Chun Zhao wasn't confident. It was easy for Chun Zhao to kill Bastir, but this didn't mean that Bastir was weak. If there were 10 Bustil attacking Chun Zhao, what if there were 100? Chapter 12:16. You can go, Chun Zhao said. With that, Black and Bustel sank into the dark lava. Then he dragged Candlin into the car and drove away. Thomas Bailey and Molly didn't expect Chun Zhao to leave so easily. When Chun Zhao and Lit Grove brought Bustel's leather back to the headquarters, it caused quite a commotion. Right now, the demon skin still had a thick aura. Everyone who'd been sound asleep felt the demon's aura and woke up in fright. They thought that there was an enemy invasion. But when they woke up, Chun Zhao was there. They relaxed a little. When they saw the demon skin on the ground, they more or less knew what was going on. Candlin was also on the ground. Right now, she was like a dead dog. She was probably scared by Chun Zhao's beating or scared out of her wits. Throw her into the dungeon. We'll interrogate her tomorrow. Teacher, I'll watch. Lit Grove felt that this was related to him. After all, he'd caused it, so he was very proactive. He hadn't participated in the association's previous operations. He'd always felt that he didn't really fit in. Now that something had happened, he finally felt that he was a member of the association. Okay, see if he can pry her mouth open. If not, I'll come tomorrow. With that, Chun Zhao returned to the hotel. When he reached the hotel, he washed the blood off his body. Then he hugged Fei Lai and slept soundly. Fei Lai sensed Chun Zhao's return. She murmured, "Did you do bad things again? For world peace, go to sleep." The next morning, Del and Risfar came to disturb them, even though their family was just experiencing the guests. However, Chun Zhao and Fei Lai wouldn't write their suggestions in their notebook. They'd say it in person. "Chun, can you do me a favor?" Risfar told Chun Zhao his thoughts directly. "I want a nameless wine." Chun Zhao nodded. "What? How much?" "At least 3 bottles per month." "Sure," Chun Zhao answered straightforwardly. "No more. 3 bottles per month." On one hand, he could afford it. On the other hand, it would not steal the limelight from our supermarket. "These 3 bottles of wine will be the room fee. This room will be reserved for our family. We will come and stay here when we have time. Don't let others stay here, okay?" Risfar and Del both laughed. Chun Zhao didn't call this an exchange of benefits. It looked like a fair deal, but they all knew that Chun Zhao had purposely erased their relationship so that they wouldn't feel bad. Chun Zhao was actually returning the favor. Risfar and Del had both helped him before. There are big and small things they help with. All these things, big and small, added up to feelings. Therefore, Chun Zhao didn't want to negotiate with them. Plus, the room's layout, orientation, interior, and scenery were all top-notch. Chun Zhao really liked it here. "Let's talk about our shortcomings here," Risfar said. "We've only been here for a day. How can we feel it? If I have to say something, it's that the people here are a little less. After all, it was only a trial operation, and there were only a few experienced guests." At this moment, there was a knock on the door. The door was open, and Molly was standing in the doorway. "Mr. Del, Mr. Risfar, these are the suggestions made by the guests today. Please take a look. You management can handle this yourself. Make some changes if it's reasonable." The two of them were the bosses. Actually, they didn't need to decide on the changes. The hotel had a few hundred employees and 20 to 30 management staff. They were paid so that they could be in charge of the main operations. Chun Zhao glanced at Molly. Didn't she leave with her demon husband? "Okay, then I won't disturb you anymore. Chun, can you tell us the supplier of your special ingredients?" Risfar asked. "I really can't, Johnny. If it's possible, I won't be stingy, but I really can't provide it to you." All right. Risfar didn't have much hope either. After all, he'd wanted the supplier when he'd attended the party earlier. Those creatures were almost all hunted by Chun Zhao. It wasn't some farm or hunting team. Risfar had actually guessed the problem with the supply. After all, with his experience, he'd eaten countless delicacies. The ingredients Chun Zhao provided to the private party were definitely top-notch. Or top-notch ingredients. Another meaning of top-notch ingredients was that they were rare. "Oh, my brewery should start production in June or July. By then, if your hotel needs beer, you can have my products. It definitely won't disgrace your hotel. You're going to open a brewery?" Del and Risfar were both surprised. They weren't surprised that Chun Zhao knew how to brew beer. After all, Chun Zhao could brew a top-notch wine like the nameless wine. What surprised them was that Chun Zhao didn't even tell them beforehand. "It's just an idea I had last month. Also, I need to save some money for myself. Chun, I won't talk too much about business, but I'll give you a suggestion for business. When you're almost done paying off the loan for your brewery, borrow some more money from the bank. Don't ever finish paying off the bank. Risfar's words were in line with Denver's philosophy. Denver's philosophy was also that they needed to maintain cooperation with banks through loans. Chun Zhao was a Chinese. The Chinese's philosophy was that if you borrowed money, you had to pay it back. It was normal for Americans to borrow money. Families were borrowing from the bank since the birth of a child. Therefore, they felt that borrowing money was normal no matter what they did. But as Chinese, they thought that borrowing money wasn't a good thing, because it would be a psychological burden. This was a difference in philosophy. Almost 80% of Americans were moonlighters. They had to rely on their next month's salary to survive. 46% of Americans didn't have more than $800 in savings. Actually, Chinese's philosophy of consumption had been changing in recent years. But deep down, Chinese people still felt that saving money was better than borrowing money. In the big picture, Americans' philosophy of consumption in advance was the root of economic prosperity. If everyone kept their money in the bank, then modern commerce would be destroyed. What was the purpose of social welfare? It was also to promote the concept of consumption. In the past, people needed to save money because they were afraid that they wouldn't be able to afford medical treatment if they got sick. But if the country bore a large portion, individuals and families wouldn't need to save so much money. Everyone could take out their money and use it immediately. Of course, it didn't mean that excessive consumption was always good. Americans' ability to resist risks was very weak. A single unemployment could destroy a family. Therefore, no one was right or wrong. Everything was reasonable. Chun Zhao still had his own ideas. In the current business model, when a businessman had money, he wouldn't pay it back. Instead, he would invest it in other areas or expand production, then borrow more money. If he could maintain this expansion method, he would earn more and more money and owe more and more to the bank. But the risk would also increase. If there was a problem in one part of the business model would be destroyed. Moreover, Chun Zhao had no ambition. To Chun Zhao, anything other than practicing medicine was an extra income. Chapter 12:17. In the afternoon, Chun Zhao arrived at the headquarters of the association. Teacher, hearing that Chun Zhao had arrived, Lit Grove immediately ran out to welcome him. At the same time, he asked for credit. Yes. Did you get any information from the interrogation last night? Teacher, I asked around. Actually, not all the demons in the demon army are willing to participate, Lit Grove said. There are many examples like Thomas Bailey, Lit Grove said. They were all converted from humans to demons. So many of their members are actually human. Chun Zhao wasn't surprised by Lit Grove's words. Even a pure devil still had some humanity in them. No person or demon could obey others unconditionally. Loyalty and betrayal were opposites. Some succumbed to other people's inherent fear, some for money, some because they had something on them or they had their own goals. If Chun Zhao was sealed one day, he believed that there would be people in the association who would save him. Chun Zhao believed that there would be people in the society who would save him and those who would protect themselves. No one could completely control others forever. So, only half of the demons will participate in the attack on the association, Lit Grove said. This was good news. It reduced the pressure of the attack by half. It was good news for both Chun Zhao and the association. Chun Zhao didn't mention the power to suppress everything. If Chun Zhao had to face 1,000 powerful demons, he would probably have to run too. So, half of them wouldn't participate. At least, it would increase their chances of winning. There's another general in the demon army, Undying Arrow. She's not willing to participate either. Are you sure Kindolin is telling the truth? She wants to work with us. Work together? How? Chun Zhao was surprised. She wants the demon core of Shadow Vanguard Eden. She wants to replace Eden. If that's all, it's not enough for me to completely believe her. She said that she knows where Eden and her subordinates are hiding. We can launch an attack on Eden in advance to weaken the strength of the demon army. Chun Zhao narrowed his eyes. This was a good idea. Weakening the demon army in advance. After thinking for a while, Chun Zhao had an idea. Since Gondolin was willing to cooperate, he would cooperate. Whether it was a trap or not, he would go. It would be best if it wasn't a trap. Everyone would benefit from it. If it was a trap, then he would beat him at his own game. Of course, Chun Zhao wouldn't foolishly dive in. What Chun Zhao had to do was to be fully prepared. No one was stupid. Chun Zhao thought that he was smart. He wouldn't treat those demons as fools. Whoever treats who is a fool is the real fool. Just then, Chun Zhao sensed something and raised his head. Chun Zhao saw a small figure standing at the edge of the rooftop of the headquarters. Chun Zhao was shocked. Isn't that Evans? Why did he go up there? Chun Zhao quickly ran to the bottom of the roof. Evans, what are you doing up there? Chun Zhao could go up and carry Evans down right now. However, Chun Zhao didn't do that. In order to ensure Evans' safety, he didn't want to use two extreme methods. Children were very innocent. If Chun Zhao flew up and hugged Evans this time, he wouldn't be able to do anything. Perhaps in Evans's mind, the next time he fell from above, he would appear again. The reason why some TV shows with young content would try to remove content like falling from buildings or playing with fire or water was because they didn't want to mislead children. Children didn't understand these things. They thought that what they saw was right. So, if Evans hadn't fallen, Chun Zhao wouldn't have gone up. Evans lowered his head and looked at the display downstairs. I'm talking to Belle. Who's Belle? Chun Zhao asked curiously. Belle is Belle. Evans pointed outside the rooftop. Uncle, can't you see? Chun Zhao frowned. He didn't see anything. But in that instant, Chun Zhao really felt something appear. But he couldn't see it. Right now, Chun Zhao didn't think that it was Evans's hysteria. He believed that there were some things in the world that others couldn't see. Only a few people could see them. For example, only Chun Zhao could see Blackie. There's also the metal box that had led him to this path in the first place and the keys. Only Chun Zhao could see them. This had nothing to do with power. The strong were strong and the weak were weak. He couldn't see them. Even if Chun Zhao placed the metal box before Beelzebub Zophi, the handsome boy, or Old Turtle, they still couldn't see it. Plus, Chun Zhao had felt it just now, so he believed that Evans had really seen something. It was also possible that that person, or that thing, had used some means to only let Evans see it. Chun Zhao had checked Evans before. He was just a regular kid. He didn't have the potential to become a spiritualist. Therefore, the possibility that he could see something but Chun Zhao couldn't was very low. There was only one possibility. That thing had appeared before Evans on its own. Also, it might not appear in a physical form. It might be a spiritual connection with Evans. In that instant, what Chun Zhao had felt might be a magic connection between this thing and Evans. Chun Zhao started to cover Evans and his surroundings with the small world. He felt something a few meters in front of Evans. Magic power? It wasn't magic power. It was a ball of spiritual power. Chun Zhao tried to communicate with this ball of mental power, but it didn't respond. Or rather, Chun Zhao didn't connect at all. Evans, say goodbye to Belle. Talk to him next time. I'll take you out to play, Chun Zhao said. Chun Zhao didn't know what the spiritual power connected to Evans was trying to do. But Belle wants me to accompany her too. Then you can come down to play. Don't stand so high. It'll hurt if you fall. Belle, I'm right. Let's go down, Evans said to the air. Not long after, Evans left the rooftop and came down from above. Chun Zhao heaved a sigh of relief. Grove, keep an eye on Evans in the association. Don't let him be alone. Chun Zhao went to Evans's room. He realized that there were many new drawings on Evans's table. Every drawing was horrifying. Just from the contents, Chun Zhao's first impression was that it was evil. Chapter 12:18. Chun Zhao waited until Gaia returned from the set. Chun Zhao told Gaia his guess. You're saying that there's something that you and I can't see approaching Evans? Yes. Chun Zhao nodded. Chun, do you have a solution? Not yet, Chun Zhao said helplessly. The thing isn't physical or spiritual. I can't even touch it. I can only vaguely feel its existence. Gaia fell into deep thought. She believed that if Chun Zhao had a solution, he wouldn't be stingy with helping her. Thankfully, there were many people in the Union. There were usually people around, and Chun Zhao had orders. Apart from when Evans was sleeping, there would always be someone by his side at all times. When Chun Zhao and Gaia walked into the headquarters, Dongye Tianxi and Jinkira came over. President, I've already made the weapon you wanted. I'm done too. President, I made it first. I was the one who made it first. Didn't you say it would take 10 days? You're done in half the time? Is it shoddy? Chun Zhao was suspicious of their speed. President, I haven't slept at all these days and haven't left the workshop. Jinkira looked at Chun Zhao with dark circles under his eyes. Chun Zhao looked at Dongye Tianxi. His eyes were also lifeless. In the past few days, the two of them had forged with all their might. They hadn't slept at all. Where's the weapon? Let me see. Both of them ran back to their workshops. Even when they ran, they didn't give an inch and bumped into each other. A few minutes later, the two of them came to Chun Zhao with a large pile of swords. President, look at the weapon I made for you first. Look at mine first. What's the rush? Are you in a rush to reincarnate? Chun Zhao said in annoyance. Dongye Tianxi, if you bring another pile of katanas, don't blame me for getting angry. Of course not. Dongye Tianxi had learned his lesson, not to mention whether he still held to his previous viewpoint. If he continued to make katanas for Chun Zhao, he would definitely lose the bet. Okay, you first. President, please take a look at this great sword. It's 5 meters long, 15 centimeters wide, and weighs 225 kilograms. Isn't it too heavy? Dongye Tianxi asked. No. Chun Zhao lifted the heavy sword and tapped it with his finger. The engravings on the body of the sword were quite beautiful. They were inlaid with gold. When Chun Zhao picked up the heavy sword, he felt that it was sturdy. At the end of the sword, there was a barb guard, and the hilt was wrapped in a layer of beast skin. The main material of this heavy sword is a combination of magic tin gold and stoneware gold. Both are very heavy metals, and the hilt is wrapped in the skin of a magic rhinoceros, which makes it more comfortable to hold without hindering the user's mana, Dongye Tianxi said confidently. Not bad, I quite like this sword. Guild leader, please take a look at the center I've made for you before making your decision. Jinkira immediately became anxious. If Chun Zhao made his decision now, he would have nothing to do with it. President, this sword of mine weighs 455 kilograms and is 75 meters long. It is made of tin and titanium alloy. To be precise, this sword of mine is not a magic weapon. However, it fulfills your requirements of being heavy and durable. Chun Zhao accepted the sword that Jinkira had made. Indeed, the sword was wider and longer. Although it couldn't be infused with mana, it felt stronger. I like your sword more, Chun Zhao said. Jinkira was instantly overjoyed. He looked at Dongye Tianxi proudly. Guild leader, my sword is a magic weapon, Dongye Tianxi said unhappily. Hers is just a regular weapon. No matter how you look at it, she's the loser. I've told you my requirements. Heavy, durable, and doesn't require high mana conductivity. If I didn't have the weapon forged by Jinkira and only have this sword of yours, I might like it. But now that I have this sword of hers, I still prefer the feel of her sword. Dongye Tianxi, I won. Now, you have to call me teacher. Wait, it's not over yet, Dongye Tianxi said immediately. Guild leader, there's still the 12 light swords you requested. Dongye Tianxi placed the 12 light swords before Chun Zhao. Jinkira didn't back down either. He placed the 12 light swords that he'd made before Chun Zhao. These 12 swords are made of Qingyu Bailing. Although Qingyu Bailing isn't made of metal, it has been soaked in the blood of 9 different magical creatures. Not only is it stronger than normal metal, but it also has a strong mana conductivity. At the same time, it's also very light. Each sword weighs less than 5 kilograms, Dongye Tianxi said. That's right. My work is made of spirit iron. It also has strong mana conductivity. The sword weighs 7 kilograms. Chun Zhao first tried Dongye Tianxi's light sword. As he'd said, it was very light and had excellent mana conductivity. Then he tried Jinkira's light sword. The effect was not bad, but it wasn't as good as Dongye Tianxi's. Both mana conductivity and weight couldn't compare to Dongye Tianxi's weapon. Let's see whose is harder. Chun Zhao each took a light sword and knocked it against each other. In the collision of metal and metal, a corner of Jin Kira's light sword flew off, while Donya Tianqi's weapon was unharmed. In this round, Chun Zhao used the most direct way to compete, so Jin Kira lost wholeheartedly. This light sword is Donya Tianqi's victory. Guild leader, does that mean I won? Donya Tianqi was overjoyed. Why did you win? We each won one round. It should be a tie. Jin Kira corrected immediately. I have 12 swords, but you only have one. Of course I win in terms of numbers. One of my swords weighs more than 12 of your swords. In that case, I should be the one to win. Neither gave in. Neither was willing to give in. This is my first time trying a heavy sword, and I misunderstood the guild leader's needs. I won't lose to you next time. A loss is a loss. Why find so many excuses? All right, stop arguing. Both of you are in a tie, so don't be unhappy. If you can completely crush your opponent, then show me your strength. What's the point of arguing now? Although both of your weapons are good, they haven't completely met my requirements. Donya Tianqi's 12 light swords and Get Kira's heavy sword will be mine. Whoever can create a sword that meets my requirements first will be the final winner. Guild leader, does my heavy sword still have flaws? It's not heavy enough, and it's not durable enough, Chun Zhao said. My heavy sword isn't durable enough? Chun Zhao wanted to show Jin Kira how he destroyed her proud weapon. However, it was rare to have a spare weapon. Chun Zhao didn't want to destroy it directly. My fighting habits have determined that this sword of yours can only be used for a few battles. Chapter 12:19. Kira had always maintained a psychological advantage over Chun Zhao. Maybe it was because she really hadn't seen Chun Zhao fight. Plus, Chun Zhao wasn't here every day, and she was always in the workshop, so she didn't know what Chun Zhao was doing. So, she always thought that Chun Zhao was a management type. She felt that the weapons she forged were enough for Chun Zhao. She really didn't understand why Chun Zhao needed better weapons. Both Kira and Donya Tianqi were of a higher level. Whether it was the light or heavy swords they forged, they weren't at their highest level. Of course, there were also better materials. With more time and energy, one could definitely forge better weapons. But they didn't think that it was necessary. Chun Zhao didn't know what they were thinking. If he did, he would definitely slap them to death. Chun Zhao took the weapons. As soon as he left, Wes came over. The two of you, take this ring. This ring will allow you to enter the training tower. What tower of trials? That's the one over there. You could train your combat skills inside. No need, Donya Tianqi said. I'm busy training my forging skills. I don't need it either. Both of them had their own personalities. They didn't want to give in to each other, especially since neither of them had won this round. They were both angry. On the way back, Chun Zhao saw a familiar figure in the convenience store. Hi, Sharon. Sharon was sitting in front of her car, drinking milk tea. She looked up and saw Chun Zhao greeting her. Chun Zhao got out of the car and also bought a cup of milk tea. He leaned against Sharon's car and chatted with her. Are you on the night shift today? I'm not in charge of traffic anymore, Sharon said. I should congratulate you. You should congratulate yourself. At least I won't catch you breaking the rules anymore. Actually, there are no pure traffic police in America. If a police officer found a traffic violation on the road, they would also take care of it. However, the main managers were police officers like Sharon, who were in charge of traffic control. Of course, if they encountered other types of crimes, they would also take care of it. In particular, if Sharon met Chun Zhao on the road, she might have to take care of him again. Chun Zhao would chat with Sharon every time he met her on the road. By the way, your car is parked in a temporary parking space. Sharon looked at the time. You can't park for more than 15 minutes. You still have 10 minutes. Remind me at the last minute, Chun Zhao said, rolling his eyes. At that moment, another convertible stopped by the roadside. A man got out of the car, holding a bouquet of roses in his hands. Shalom for you. Saran looked at the man expressionlessly. Inro, I think I made myself very clear last time. Or did you not understand me? Sharon looked at the man impatiently. Chun Zhao watched the show from the side with interest. He wondered if he should help her and act as her temporary boyfriend. Sharon, I really like you. I will use my actions to prove my feelings. No matter what you do, I won't like you. Just give up, Sarah said coldly. I don't ask you to accept me now, but please accept this bouquet of roses. Just then, Chun Zhao walked up and took the roses. This bouquet of roses is very beautiful. I thank you on behalf of Sharon. Inro's expression froze. You are. What do you think our relationship is? Chun Zhao looked at Inro with a smile. We're not a couple, right, Sharon? Inro turned to look at Sharon. Expressionlessly, Sharon looked at Inro. Why not? Why do you like him? How can I not be compared to him? Inro stared at Sharon angrily. You can't compare to him in any way. Sharon sneered at Inro. She had long been annoyed by Inro. Since Chun Zhao was willing to help her, she might as well go with the flow. Fine, Sharon. Even if you have a boyfriend, I don't care. I will use my actions to prove that I'm the most suitable for you. Goodbye. Chun Zhao waved his hand with a smile. Inro's face was livid as he turned to leave. Do you hate him? An idiot, Sharon said. He actually naively thinks that if he pursues me, my father will invest in his company. Chun Zhao was also a bit shocked. American society was different from China. In China, if a son-in-law married into a woman's family and there were no other heirs in the family, the man would gradually take over the management of the woman's family. However, for family business like America, management would rarely change just because the man married into the family. It was also not like the man could enter management just because he married the heiress of the family. Even if the woman inherited the family business in the future, it had nothing to do with her husband. Moreover, for a marriage like theirs, they would definitely sign a prenuptial agreement before marriage. Even if he really pursues me, Sharon said, my father won't invest $50 million in his company. What's his company's business? Chun Zhao asked curiously. Travel company, Sharon said. Oh, he mostly receives tourists from Southeast Asia. $50 million for a travel company? Is he planning to use dollars to cover the Pacific Ocean? He's just an opportunist. It's about time. I should go. If I don't, you're going to give me a ticket. Chun Zhao stuffed the rose into Sharon's hands. This is for you. Can you be more sincere when you give me a gift next time? Sharon looked at the rose in her hands and then stuffed it into the trash can beside her. Chun Zhao didn't drive for long before he felt a car following him. Chun Zhao looked at the car. Wasn't it Inro's car? Chun Zhao parked the car by the roadside. Inro's car was also parked behind. Inro got out and walked to Chun Zhao's side. Sir, how about we get to know each other? Inro put his hands on Chun Zhao's car door. What do you want? Chun Zhao looked at Inro. It's about Sharon. And? Chun Zhao looked at Inro. You know what Sharon's family does, right? We're already boyfriend and girlfriend. Do you think I wouldn't know? Do you want a lot of money? How much? 5 million. Chun Zhao frowned at Inro. After all, it was only 5 million. Was he really that cheap? Look at my car first, then we can talk about the price. Chun Zhao rolled his eyes. Chun Zhao and Inro both drove convertibles, but Chun Zhao's was a Porsche 918, while Inro's was less than $100,000. Inro's expression froze. Fine, 10 million. Chapter 12:20. Inro narrowed his eyes at Chun Zhao. You have the same idea, right? Of course. Why would I be with Sharon if I didn't? She's bad-tempered and hard to please. If I have money, I'd rather find someone gentle and caring. Chun Zhao didn't feel any guilt when he said such shameless words. Inro understood Chun Zhao's words very well. He treated Chun Zhao as someone in the same industry. In other words, they were the so-called professional gigolos. However, Inro wasn't a normal gigolo. Inro didn't do business for 10 years, but once he did, he could eat for 10 years. He'd been looking for Sharon for a long time this time. However, Chun Zhao was happy about Inro's misunderstanding. Finally, someone recognized his looks and thought that he had the right to be a gigolo. It wasn't easy. Did you rent this car? No, I got it from the rich woman I tricked last time, Chanja said. Where's that rich woman? I worked with someone to make her bankrupt and get tens of millions of dollars. Inro gasped. He didn't expect that Chun Zhao wasn't only a kindred spirit, but also had methods that weren't weaker than his. At the same time, he believed that he'd found the right person. It's not easy to get money from Sharon's father. He's famous for being stingy. What's your original plan? Inro asked. I'll get her first, and then find a piece of land. Then, I'll tell Sharon that we don't have enough money to buy the land. She'll pay for it, and then I'll transfer it from left to right. Then how are you going to get out? Inro asked. Even a married couple had to pay debts. Plus, the court wouldn't support the man for such a huge transfer. That's easy, Chun Zhao said matter-of-factly. Just mortgage the land to Sharon's family. That's too difficult, Inro said. If you cooperate with me, I can definitely make more money for you. It'll be easier too. What's your plan? Chun Zhao asked. I have a shell company. Try to convince Sharon to invest in my company and then make it bankrupt in 3 months. The money in the company can be transferred to an overseas account. It's absolutely safe and fast. She can't get the money back even if she wants to. I'll think about it, Chun Zhao said. In fact, Inro's method was even cruder and less reliable than Chun Zhao's. To put it bluntly, he was using feelings to swindle people. Shell companies could deceive ordinary people, but could they deceive a billionaire? This was obviously impossible. To be able to become a billionaire, who was a fool? Any random commercial detective could turn Inro's background upside down. Even Chun Zhao's investment of $30 million had to be evaluated multiple times. He had to find experts and banks for multiple reviews. Why would the investors invest in a shell company? Give me a contact number so that we can contact and discuss, Inro said. Chun Zhao gave him a number, but it wasn't Chun Zhao's number. It was West's. Chun Zhao didn't want him to disturb his phone. If Inro found out that he had been tricked and spread his phone number, he might be harassed by him. So he gave West's number to Inro. At that time, even if they wanted to harass him, it would be West, not him. This is my assistant's number, Chun Zhao said. Inro increasingly felt that Chun Zhao wasn't simple. He actually had a personal assistant. No wonder he could trick rich women out of their money. He tricked a few women too, but the most he got was a few $100,000. After Chun Zhao left, he sent the recording to Sharon. Not long after, Sharon called him. Chun, what's going on? That Inro just found me again. He wants to work with me to cheat your father of his money. This asterisk shoal. I won't let him go. Actually, Sharon didn't need Chun Zhao's reminder. She already knew Inro's background. But with this kind of ugly and naked evidence in front of him, his mentality changed. Sharon originally didn't want to talk to Inro. But now, this recording completely ignited Sharon's anger. Do you need me to provide a gun? Chun Zhao teased. It's not convenient for you to use your gun. After a moment of silence, Sharon said, I'll give you $50,000. Help me teach this asterisk shoal a lesson. How about that? $50,000? She was too cheap. That's against the law. You're a cop. Chun Zhao didn't want to have too much to do with Inro. With his relationship with Sharon, reminding her was already very kind of him. He didn't have to help her teach Inro a lesson. Moreover, Sharon's father should be capable enough. He didn't even have to do it himself. If it was a good friend of his, like Steven or Dell, it would be a waste of time. If they met such a scammer, he would help them teach the scammer a lesson. But he and Sharon definitely weren't good friends. All right, I'm not asking you to kill anyone. Whatever. If he finds me again, I'll think of a way to teach him a lesson, Chun Zhao said. Chun Zhao had too many ways to teach scammers a lesson. It didn't matter if it was the underworld or the legal world. Moreover, such people didn't deserve sympathy. He definitely tricked many people. Most of them were women. Even if he killed him, he would be helping the people. Of course, the prerequisite was that Inro came to him. Chun Zhao's job scope didn't include helping the people. After returning to the hotel, Chun Zhao met Molly in the lobby. Seeing Chun Zhao walk in, Molly immediately walked up. Mr. Chun, can we talk? About what? About my husband. Is there a problem? Bailey hopes to get your protection. He's a demon, and I'm a spiritualist. In terms of status, we're natural enemies. I've already shown my kindness by not killing him, but now you want me to protect him. That's not appropriate. To be frank, he wasn't related to Thomas Bailey at all. Why should he protect him? Bailey said he knows Doan Tucker's weakness. He told me yesterday that he didn't even know Doan Tucker's abilities, but now he's telling me that he knows Doan Tucker's weakness. Just this is enough reason for me to kill him, Chen Zhao said, narrowing his eyes. He's not lying, Molly quickly said. There's something in the Norton Simon Museum that can restrain Doan Tucker. Oh, Norton Simon Museum? What's that? That you're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.